to an age when thought is free. From the age of Big Brother. From the age of the thought police. From a dead man. Greetings.
So, like, I look at her in her eyes, right? I lean down and take a huge bite. And I literally sat back and I said, wow, last time I had apple pie this good was in the Garden of Eden.
Okay, that's a crazy punchline to the joke, right? Funny. Where'd you hear
What
that
do you
one?
mean? What do you mean, joke? I'm trying to tell you a story.
No, that's not a story. That's...
I'm trying to tell you a story, and you're talking about punchlines and tags and jokes.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
But there was a lot on your mind this morning.
What are you talking about?
About those? You're talking about those
income claims.
Oh yes, those irritating ads on YouTube. Like, it's. I mean, take
Well,
a
it's not
pick.
ads.
It is an ad. It is like, you want to make $300 every day without working, like, and then
yeah.
talking about like, then send me an email right now. You stop being a lucha. Stop being a sucker. You know.
But the thing is,
I'm not explaining it well, but I don't have the energy
yeah, I know,
for
but
that.
what I'm saying is that you get these people, and you're obviously preying on any person who's desperate. It's the same as like a pyramid scheme or any of those things. It's the same model.
Church.
Wow. Oh, you actually reminded me of something. Yeah, I'll start off with that. The other thing doesn't really matter. I was just saying that YouTube is cracking down on a lot of slop that has made it through over the last 10 years, I would say. And all those people are seeing a major drop in their views. So this is the thing that I was talking about, which is, I don't know what to think of it, and I want to get your live reaction to it.
Okay.
And I know I didn't want to really start off with the Bible, but okay, fine. So who was Adam and Eve's kids? Like the first kids?
Cain and Abel.
Okay, right. But here's something that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
If you look at the very beginning of chapter 5 of Genesis, you'll see there that they start the genealogy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they only mention Seth. And I was like, whoa, what is this?
No, but but I know what you mean.
Like,
but
it says there it says from the beginning, basically it starts it from over. It's like God made mankind, man and woman, made Adam, and he lived to 130, and then he had a son named Seth. And then
I think it was a
Seth
little bit more than
had
130.
Enos.
Yeah.
No, it was 130 years. So where's Cain and Abel? Like,
well, I mean, I guess the point is that they already told you about Cain and Abel. So I'm assuming the person was like, whoever wrote that down thousands of years was like, should I start again with Cain and Abel? No, but these niggas just heard about Cain and Abel. Surely they would know.
I think that's being, I don't know, I can't think of the word right now, but I think that's being a little bit generous.
Generous?
Yeah, because it doesn't really make sense if you're starting it from over when it says, like, in the beginning God made mankind, he made man and woman. When you're starting from that point, how do you then go, oh, let's just skip the first two kids and let's just start with Seth? So another theory is also, like, the person who wrote that is a different person from who wrote the first 3-4 chapters.
Yes, it's but that's also possible. People forget that this is not, you know what, people like to act like there was some claim that the same person wrote the whole Bible. That's why you hear people ask
Well, I don't
stupid
know
questions.
about that. That
No,
seems like
no,
a bit
no,
of a stretch.
100%. You see it all the time. People will be like, well, I've got a question for you. Who wrote the Bible? And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? And then they'll tell you about how, like, Sir Francis Bacon of England wrote the Bible, or King James wrote the whole Bible. And it's like,
William Shakespeare.
bro, it's like, dude, come on, man. We all, at this point, we should probably all know that it's a collection of books, right? Like, everyone knows this by now, no? But no, people don't. And that's why some gotcha questions like, or whatever claims like that, it's just mind boggling. But anyway, I never said you didn't know. I'm just saying,
No, I'm not saying
don't be
that. I'm just saying
surprised.
that it's quite interesting that I was like, this isn't even 5 chapters in, and what did you just forget about the whole thing we
Okay,
just
let
spoke
me,
about? But then if we look at it from the mysticism aspect,
hold on. Before you go
then
into
you
the
go
mysticism, let me read the actual chapter, not the whole
go
chapter.
for it's in the very beginning, like
It's
literally the
chapter
first
5,
sentences.
Genesis 5.
Yes.
This is the written account of Adam's family line. When God created mankind, he made them in the likeness of God. He created them male and female and blessed them, and he named them mankind, inverted commas, when they were created. When Adam had lived 130 years, he had a son in his own likeness, in his own image, and he named him Seth. After Seth was born, Adam lived 800 years. See, that's what I was telling you. He didn't live 130. It's saying he lived to
No,
be
I'm
100.
saying it was 130 when he had Seth.
Yes.
That's what I said.
Adam lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. The question people always ask, Adam, like Cain, where are these mystery bitches from? Like Eddie Griffin always likes to talk about, like, how did they multiply? Um, Anyway, Adam lived a total of 930 years and then he died. When Seth had lived 105 years, he became the father of Enosh. After he became the father of Enosh, Seth lived 807 years and had other sons and daughters. Okay, so
So
your
we
question
can
is,
we
why
can
did they
we can
jump over
stop it
Cain and
there.
Abel?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, like, okay,
And
two.
even the way it's written is like, just think about what you just read. It goes from like he had a son in his own likeness. Like it's very much an origin story.
I guess the question is, why is it concerning you? Because there's already two answers and you had them, but you don't like them, so you like, no,
It's not
teacher,
that
give
I
me
don't
another
like them.
answer.
I'm saying that it's strange that
It's not strange. The first thing is this: stories are collected. Remember this. And I'm just putting a theory out there, but put yourself in their shoes. You're originally from Ur, which is near Babylon, and you maybe you even have a whole origin story of the Anunnaki and whatnot, right? So like these alien king gods come from another planet, blah blah blah. But in your emphasis here is not in retelling the story of how these fallen angels came to earth and ruled here, but your emphasis is on speaking about the origin of man. So wherein, for example, in the writings of Zechariah Sitchin, or his translations of the cuneiform tablets, right? The Sumerian cuneiform tablets, in his translation of it, there's not too much. Yeah, there's some detail. I read it a while ago, but it does speak about how they kind of created man a bit, but it doesn't go into depth in their story. So it doesn't, for example, talk about what happened when Cain slew Abel, right? It just talks about how they created man and then they multiplied and it started becoming noisy for the gods. So now let's say, this is purely hypothetical, Abraham chose to discuss the creation of man more closely, more in detailed. He didn't want to waste too much time about Anunnaki and whatnot. And because Cain slew Abel, obviously Abel is dead. So his line has ended. There's no continuance of that line. Secondly, Cain has been cursed and thrown out of the Garden of Eden, out of the sight of God, and most probably out of the presence of Adam and Eve. They don't want to talk to him, they don't want to see him. So he's dead to them. That's why the line begins with Seth. Cain, cursed. His daughters go on to marry fallen angels, whatnot, whatnot. Seth is the line continued in righteousness, the one who inherits. And we've seen this in other scripts. Abraham had several kids, but only Isaac was considered a miracle because he was the legitimate son in terms of being the son of both Sarah and Abraham and the actual heir, right? It happens all the time. They have several kids with their concubines, whatever, but there's just one line that's legitimate, and that's the one that is religiously, legally legitimate. So that could be the simple answer there. It's just that, look, this guy doesn't count because he's cursed. He killed his brother. Or it could just be that the first person who shared the first 4 chapters shared it at first, and then the person who was writing Genesis just said, okay, look, I have this beginning part and I have this part, so I'm just going to put them together and let the future generations figure out what it means.
Yeah, so this is where things get a little bit I don't know, like the
Bring the
best term
Gnosticism,
to use.
brother. Bring it. Don't be
Let's
scared.
say
Let's hear it.
it gets a little bit squirrely, and it's not even Gnosticism or anything like that. It's essentially just that this is what this one dude was saying that you run into the issue with, and then you lose the importance of what is being said, because it's you have people trying to, like, even what I just did now, trying to be like, oh, but the names aren't here, but they're here, like, what's going on here, what's this inconsistency. I was actually trying to give you an example of what happens when the people go down that, like,
Rabbit hole.
literal route.
Yes.
And but what he was saying is that uh, those the first 4 chapters has got to do with consciousness once again. I know you're not a fan of when I bring that up.
What are you talking
Um,
about? Consciousness is
not
part of
not
God.
consciousness. I mean, when I spoke about the 9 and all of that, and you said it's
Okay.
a bit of a stretch. I'm saying 9 represents consciousness. Um,
Oh, okay, yes. And
and
then
then
666 is 3 times 6, which is 18, and 1 plus 8 is 9. So that's consciousness
exactly.
again, but the lowest form. And then you said something, what's the higher one again?
The highest form is 144,000, which is 1 plus 4 plus 4 is 9. So it's got to do with your higher consciousness.
Yeah.
And then when Jesus says,
Yeah, hello? Mike Ward, have we lost you, brother? Don't tell me we've lost you. No. No. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on a second. Let's see if we can get this brother back. Oh, he may have an internet issue. That's quite unfortunate. We're just getting started. Oh man. Uh-oh. Well, I was really looking forward to hearing some of this Gnostic theory that he's got going. And now here we are. Here we are. Give us a moment. We're gonna fix this. Get it going again.
Yo, dude.
Yo, brother, what's up with your internet?
I don't know what's. Just give me a sec. I think these people have switched it off while I'm on the call, dude. Just give me a
That
second.
okay. That'll be terrible. Well, this is what happens when you share a place,
Yeah,
with family. People just
I'm
randomly
gonna check
switching
it.
off
Did you
routers
switch
and the
off the
like.
thing? The internet. I'm saying, what did you reset it while I'm on the call? No, we didn't reset. There's a read right on again.
Yeah. They switched it off. Someone just decided to reset the router.
Let me reset it. That might help.
I'll reset it. That'll help.
I'm recording, that's why.
You already, yeah.
Well, it kicked me out of Discord. Yeah, it's doing it. Let me restart the router.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, let's have a brief intermission while Mikey sorts that out. But you know what might actually be interesting? Checking out some of these claims regarding Adam. Why was Cain not mentioned in the genealogy? Okay, well, this is an AI answer. But it will, I suppose, suffice for now. Cain is omitted from the primary genealogical record in Genesis 5 because the biblical authors selectively traced the messianic lineage leading to Jesus Christ. It's a good point, I suppose. The line of Cain was associated with violence and corruption and was wiped out by the great flood, whereas the line of Seth served as the covenantal path. That's a good point, right? I mean, we do actually, and this might just be a Christian perspective. The Bible really, for many Christians, is a preparation, explanation, justification for the Messiah. With things in the Old Testament being a foreshadowing of what will come in the future or in the final covenant, as many will refer to it. Yes, and I suppose even for ancient Jews or ancient Israelites, that was very much the same idea, right? I mean, it was all leading up to the eventual coming of the Messiah and then ending of this world in destruction and then rebirth in some form or other. So if it's not part of the messianic line or explaining that, it's not of interest. Very interesting. I wonder what else we would find if we were to follow that train of thought. That could be very interesting. Okay, so we had some technical difficulties, and uh, but Mikey managed to wrestle his brothers, submit one or two of them, and now they've given up the Wi-Fi password.
Dude, it's not that. It's when you have technical things given to people who don't know what they're doing, right? But they have the power in like to be able to do things and make mistakes, but they don't
Yeah.
really understand the internet. So you get on the phone with someone, right? And it's like you explaining to them how these things work, right?
Yeah.
And then but they have the power to sort of change packages and things, and then they do that, and a week later you're like, my internet is so bad. Then you call again and you realize they realize that, oh no, someone has.
My goodness. So the internet is just giving up.
Disconnecting again, dude.
Dude, you just disconnected again.
Yeah, I know. But anyways, we'll continue on. It's not the first time we've had to push through the beginning. Basically, what I was saying was that back to the before the disconnection happened
The
was that the guy was
144,000.
saying
Oh, yeah.
no, like we already spoke that the number 9 represents consciousness. So that's when you see that, know that they're referring to consciousness, things of the spirit, if you will. But what I was saying is that the guy said the first Adam and Eve that they spoke about. This is why there's a difference between those in the beginning and then the ones from chapter 5 onwards. Is because the first is like the spiritual man, the splitting of the atom, which is the Adam, right? The rib being taken is what happens when you take a electron from an atom. There's a lot more that he
It's a
went into.
stretch, brother. It's a stretch. While you were,
And
I'll be honest with you,
it's splitting. It's a splitting of the atom is what then created
it's a stretch, bro.
mankind.
That kind of explanation is right up there with this morning I saw 2 crows fly and 1 card. That means that we will win. The fight. While you were gone, I googled the question actually, which was I believe the question
Why?
was
Don't they talk about Cain and Abel from chapter 5 in the
exactly, but
genealogy?
yes, exactly, and what it gave was a satisfactory answer, I would say. So I'm going to repeat the answer for you. Um, it basically talks about Cain is omitted from the primary genealogical record in Genesis 5 because the biblical authors selectively traced the messianic lineage leading to Jesus Christ. The line of Cain was associated with violence and corruption and was wiped out by the Great Flood, whereas the line of Seth served as the covenantal path. So,
So it's a
biblical.
bunch of people just decided this doesn't suit the narrative.
Why do you say a bunch of people? It's just one author, or
Well, it said there was more than one there from the sounds of it.
yeah. I mean, look, we have, for example, the
No, what
Ethiopian
does it
Bible.
say? Didn't you just read that it said a few people? That it said the authors,
Yeah, because the Bible
plural.
has been authored by several people. By
No,
several
but I'm
people.
saying specifically from chapter 5.
Yes, Mikey, what you've got to
Just
understand.
reread that thing again.
Let me explain something first.
No, first reread
I
it so
will.
I
I
can make
promise you I
sure that
will. But
I didn't
I want you
misunderstand.
to understand a reality here. The Bible was scrolls, right? The scrolls were passed on from one generation to the next. This means that when someone was recopying parts of this text, they would decide, okay, here we have in these scrolls, we have a lot of information about maybe the Nephilim, blah, 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 blah. We don't have a lot of space. So we don't think that this is as important, right? That's why you have a difference between the Ethiopian Bible and what we would call, I guess, the Western Bible today, right? The collection of scrolls and books as we have them today, is because the Ethiopians might have thought, you know what? We're a rich kingdom. We are in a position to actually record all of everything that we want and to keep it from generation to the next. And this one perhaps was traveling through the desert and into captured land, etc. So they decided to do it differently. But I'll read this again for you.
You're going a long way just to try get away from my simple question of I said authors and then you
Yes.
disagreed.
No, I
Almost like
didn't
there's one
disagree.
person.
I didn't
You're
disagree.
like, what do you mean so many people? That was
I
the
never
exact
said there's
response.
one author that's quite categorically false and you know it. I'm the one person
No,
who's
when
been
I
saying,
said a bunch of people, then you like, what do you mean a bunch of people?
yeah, a bunch of people. Okay, look,
So,
Cain is
but
omitted.
read it and then you'll see what I say. Why I
Cain
said
is
that.
omitted from the primary genealogical record in Genesis 5 because the biblical authors selectively traced the messianic lineage leading to Jesus
So there you
Christ.
have it. Authors. That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, but
That's
we've
why I said a
always known
bunch
that
of
there's several
people.
authors.
But you disagreed.
Why would I disagree?
And
We literally started the
when I
conversation.
said a
Dude.
bunch of people, you said, what do you mean a bunch of people? Almost like
Yeah, what do you mean a
somehow I was
bunch of
wrong.
No, but what's a bunch of people? When you say, look, okay,
A bunch
we're
of
being
people
petty.
is plural. No,
Yeah,
but I'm
but a
saying
bunch of
you were
people,
being petty because there's nothing I said was wrong. You
a
just
bunch of
wanted to
people,
disagree with
a
it.
bunch of people has certain
It's
connotations.
plural.
Yeah, but it has connotations to it. A bunch of
No,
people,
that's
like
in you are trying to dissect it that way. But maybe I was just it's the
whatever.
way the vernacular I used was offensive to you.
Okay,
I don't know.
whatever.
I don't know what you were
Whatever
trying
this
to
guy is
purport there.
saying, I'll agree with whatever this guy is saying.
Okay,
Pardon
this
my
guy's.
vernacular.
Anyways, that's beside the point. What I'm saying is, the more I'm studying, like off cuff, people who interpret these type of texts, the more I'm starting to kind of see it their way. Not
I
like
noticed.
fully.
Okay.
No, not fully,
Uh,
but it's like you said, there's truth in all areas. It's not just the one.
no,
That I
no.
do agree with you with, right? But you have to think about it this way. What does the how can this thing help me if I only see it as a historical book? It can't help you. It would be like reading the life of like Genghis Khan or something, or Genghis Khan, according to some. And then like being expected to read it over and over and of course you're going to be like, well, I'm done with that bit of history. But if
Again,
you go deeper than that, if you go to the hidden meanings that they're trying to teach you, then it's a forever. Like
and
it's
again,
forever truth, and you're constantly revealing things and constantly able to apply it to your life, even in this
yes,
day and age.
yes,
And you wouldn't be looking at it like, oh no, that's from there. It's like, no, the whole thing is written in code.
Mikey,
And to
again,
say that it's not, and
but
no,
no
not
one is,
you obviously, but
yes,
this is a lot of what these organized religious people, the pastors, televangelists rather,
you can call them TV
this is how they
evangelists.
push it.
Yes, but that's idiotic because
So for me to say that and express that, I don't think I'm out of turn saying that,
just
because
move a bit
maybe
to
there's
your
some
right there.
people, maybe there's some people who you know actually feel lost.
Yes, there are
Think about
many
it.
people who feel lost. I'll grant you that, and it is because they, it's ignorance. You know, ignorance. It's amazing because you're right. There are some people who see it as a historical text. Um, either they make the mistake of taking it as a purely literal historical text, right? Or they don't see it necessarily literal, but they see it historical. They don't see that there's symbolism. They don't see that there's parallelism, right? They don't see that there's things like foreshadowing. So a lot of people still get amazed when you start explaining to them why the tabernacle was set up the way that it was and why Jesus referred to John the Baptist as the light, right? So in the book where they talk about, I think is it Mark or Matthew or Luke? I can't remember now. Where it talks about John, um, like basically it's saying like John was not the light itself, but he was no. John was not the world. Okay, I'm gonna butcher it, so I'm just gonna leave it out. But my point being that basically John was that light, the same light which is spoken of in the description of the tabernacle that sits right before the holies of holies. So it's like he was the final like herald to say, look here, repent, be baptized, transform your minds and be renew your commitment to God, because the word of God has come right into this world. Um, and lots of people don't know this, and when they understand that for the first time, they're like, "Oh my goodness, that's so brilliant!" Like, yeah, it's been sitting there for 2,000 years. It's a very obvious symbol.
But here's another thing. I think maybe it's in Hebrews, might be in Galatians. Anyways, it's somewhere there where it basically says that the tabernacle of God is in you. Um, and I found that interesting because it kind of goes back to, this whole idea of, historicity versus mysticism. And not really versus, obviously, because it could be both, as you said.
Yeah,
But
I still believe
even
that.
when you look at the building of the tabernacle, and this I could be getting completely wrong, but they talk about a cubit, which is like 18 inches. But then you have that 9 again, or if it's not the cubit itself, it's the span, which is 18, which is 9. So once again, you're dealing with consciousness. So that's
Even the
why,
ark,
yeah,
they talk about cubits. Yeah.
and even funny enough that you brought that up is because basically, and this is obviously the interpretation, like you said, could obviously be a stretch, but basically, when it's saying when there's a storm outside in the outer world, you go into the ark, which is in your mind. And then there was only one light, a skylight right at the top, which is like referring to the pineal gland. And when you when you rest in that place and you abide in that place, the storm will raise you up to the mountain, um, where you will reach that level of consciousness, and then the storm will pass, and you'll be free.
That's this guy's interpretation.
This guy's
You
no,
see?
no, no, no,
But now you
no.
see
I'm
what
just
a bunch of guys
it's
like. It has connotations, like it has attitude to it, man. Just
Yeah, I
like
know
that's
what you're saying,
this
but
guy's
what
interpretation. Look, let me check
I
that.
didn't. Obviously, I did when I said it. A bunch of guys, you picked up what I was trying to do there. I was just trying to weave around it because I was right, but it was with the attitude, obviously. Anyways, it's like
Um,
what I'm saying is
okay, let's see this.
in
Sorry,
in 20. Okay, go
I
for it.
checked. I checked. Was there a light in Noah's Ark? And according to the biblical narrative in Genesis chapter 6, verse
I mean,
16,
one window at the top is what I was
God
saying, like
instructed
a
Noah to
skylight.
make a window exactly. Hebrew word Toha for the ark. In the Jewish Midrash and
Ha, the
Talmud
Zohar.
commentaries, expand this to suggest that a glowing, luminous, precious stone was also used to illuminate the otherwise dark interior of the vessel. So the Talmud and the Jewish Midrash. But if we look at when the Midrash was written, when were Midrash
But
and
also keep
Talmud
in mind that
written?
in the pineal gland there are these stones. They're almost like rock-like grains that sit inside of the pineal gland.
That's
So
calcification
it's
stones, yeah.
quite interesting that that's what was kind of mentioned.
But that could just be
Because,
Jewish mysticism, you know?
dude, it's
It could
all
be.
that. It's all that.
Yeah, but something is very
It wouldn't
important.
make any other. What I'm saying is this: there's different stages. In the beginning, you're wowed by all these different things that take place, and that's okay. But eventually, when you become old head and you're going deeper,
You start
these
getting
types of
bored.
things start. No, these types of things like interpretation start standing out, and you realize that there's a level for every different person who's on the journey.
Yes.
Sometimes you need that first thing, maybe a bit of historicity. And the next thing, it's a bit of the language of the leaves, and then which is the parables and the poetry, and then after that, it's like the numerology. Because here's even something interesting, and this is also kind of I don't know where this came from, but so you know how it's like he was in a manger in between the horse and the goat.
Jesus.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like the son of man was in between Capricorn and Sagittarius.
Okay.
um, so there's like astrology there as well. It's the same thing with uh, with Isaac when he took him up there to be sacrificed. He
The
said
ram in the
no,
bushes.
and then the ram appeared, which is Aries. So that's the altar. The burnt offering is the sun going through Aries. It's just funny, dude.
Um,
It's funny when you hear it because you're like, "Whoa, that's like it's interesting."
but
Because
why would you?
if you don't know the knowledge, or if you don't know that that's even said, it's you would think something completely different.
Okay, so
I'm
let's
not saying it is that, but I'm saying that it's funny how like that's how
what
other people can kind of put it together in their own interpretation of
what did you
whether
say?
that's
What did you say the horse and the goat are? Capricorn and Sagittarius.
Capricorn and Sagittarius.
But Sagittarius is okay. I
Look, I
also
don't know the zodiacs and stuff like that. Like I'm way out of my depth there, and that's not something to be proud of. Like I think you should study all things and have knowledge on at least the basics of all things, right? Instead of just being like, he's
um
into the stars.
okay,
Like
but look here.
that's
So
ignorant.
In the zodiac wheel, Capricorn and Sagittarius are directly adjacent to one another. Sagittarius, a mutable fire sign, comes first, and Capricorn, a cardinal earth sign, immediately follows. Because they sit side by side, there is no sign between them. However, many astrologers consider the threshold between the two, roughly from December 18th to December 24th, to be the cusp of prophecy. This cusp merges the philosophical vision of Sagittarius with the practical work ethic of Capricorn. But here's the thing. We know that Jesus wasn't born in December. So that might just be someone. Okay, now let me check one more thing.
No, but that's
Was
not what it is,
was
dude.
Jesus lying?
They're talking about the Son of Man raising up in a human being. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about a person. And they're talking about the actual Son.
No.
Because there's something called
check this out.
cross.
No, the
Like-
Bible does not. The Bible does not state that Jesus lay between a horse and a goat. The original scriptures do not mention any specific animals being present at the birth of Jesus. So it's just another mystical bullshit, my friend. Someone sold you that and made you go, ooh.
Not sold me that. I'm just saying that in these like zodiac things, which I don't understand at all.
But why would they
They're not
feel the
trying
need to
to-
lie to you about there was a horse and a goat?
No, what he was saying is essentially that this is what the whole barn scene is supposed to represent.
Oh my gosh. So he comes up with his own idea of what was there, not based on text.
Basically saying
then-
that because of these, the barn represents these animals of the zodiac, and the sun rising in December, reaching this place of the cross. There's like a certain term they have for it.
Bro,
That's supposed to represent the barn,
bro.
to write it in code or whatever. I'm
Whatever
telling
was
you,
chickens in the barn.
I'm telling you what someone is saying. The reason why it is a barn to begin with.
Yeah, you know my
The
take,
reason,
man. This
the
is
reason why everything in the east is actually supposed to represent the right hemisphere of the brain.
Whoa, bro. Bro, we're gonna go down some deep rabbit hole of
No,
like
look, we don't have to go into it, but I'm just saying it always gets a good reaction out of you. That's why I just
yeah,
find
because
the
what
words.
it shows me is that while it's great that people are looking for new meaning, and it's a good thing, let your mind ask questions, delve deeper. This is good. This is good. I always encourage this. But at what point do you just take a look back and just say, maybe I veered off the path here? Because sometimes
here's
not
a better way
everything
of
that you can
looking at it.
explain, not everything you can explain makes sense, and you know this. You know this.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm saying is, what you should really look at is how do people interpret the zodiac in terms of Jesus's birth, like the zodiac interpretation of that, because they talk about like, I wish I cared enough to actually like remember these things, but I'm just like, oh, that's interesting that guy's saying that. I wonder if there's any truth, and then I'll go and I'll look up online, and you'll find the inconsistencies and be like, oh, that's not actually true what you said there.
Yeah.
But because there was no internet back then, you could kind of say whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
So but that's not all the stuff, right?
I had an idea, a thought. So like I was thinking something interesting. For example, my wife has a birthday, obviously. And my nephew shares her birthday exactly. Now, depending on which system of astrology you use, whether it's Vedic astrology, so like from India, or you use
Yeah.
just the straight astrology that everyone knows, like your horoscopes, or whether you
All of
use,
that is from the East, dude.
or whether you use, dude, the study of stars is as old as the stars themselves. Like as soon as man was able to look up and notice that things are consistently moving, they started studying them. But anyway,
Do you know how? Just a quick fact. Do you know how
because
they
the East,
actually?
like, hold
Do you
on,
know how
hold
they
on.
actually studied them? Just like a quick interlude.
Who? The
Is that
Mayans, the
or
Aztecs,
who? Like I can't
the
remember the
Olmecs?
society, but a very old one, and maybe even the Sumerians. They had these ponds, these little basins,
Hmm?
and they would look in the reflection and study it that way instead of looking up the whole time.
Yeah, to
They
hurt
would
your
look
neck.
down, yeah, into the basin, and that's how they would study it. I thought that was quite interesting. But
Yeah, that's
anyways,
um so my point being, so you would then expect, oh my goodness, we're not receiving any sponsorship cash.
they see me smoke.
Um so you would expect, anyway, wife shares a birthday with my nephew. So you would expect that somehow they would share,
I'm a birthday guy. I'm
yeah,
gay.
they would share some kind of personality traits or something that, something similar, similar challenges. Um and
It's
that
not
of course brought me to the idea that, to the questions that many people have. For example, oh, it's nonsense. Do you really believe that the stars and the planets will influence you and life here on this planet? Now, I had two ideas that came to mind. First, in the Bible, it says that let the stars and the sun and the moon, right, be for signs and wonders. So already we have this
astrology.
yeah, but the causal relationship is what's being questioned here mostly. Is that, and I had the idea that, well, maybe it's not so much that the planets and the stars are influencing the birth of people or who's being born, what spirits are coming to earth, but rather it is the heavens communicating to us signs and wonders, right? What is coming up next? So basically, in this set of people being born today, this is the kind of life that they will live, or these are the challenges they will face. And so, as a sign, we give you this alignment of
As
stars and
kind of
planets.
like a guideline so that you
Exactly.
aren't like a map so that you aren't completely lost.
Exactly. So it's not a causal relationship, it's more of it's like a map that's being given to Earth
But
in
it's
case you
it's
want to
it's
listen.
overcome because you've been given dominion over all these things. So perhaps before you know that, they can kind of lead you in certain areas until you kind of get to that place of enlightenment where you realize, like, no, I have authority over these things.
No, I don't even mean like that. I mean more like in the example of, for example, the star that the three wise men followed to
To the east.
to no, they were from the east. The three wise men were from the east, and they were following the star to Jesus. And that was, Jesus didn't come because of the star. The star was a sign of Jesus' coming. You understand?
The Magi.
Yes, but are you catching my story? What I'm
No,
trying to
I
say.
do. It's just a lot goes through my head because there's a couple of when you mention that there's a couple of other things that also I started to remember as well. But it's
Okay, let's hear this cookie pot
no,
logic.
no, no. It's like I don't remember it fully, but something about like yeah, dude. It's all got to. This is why I said to look it up, but you don't have to.
Look what up.
Essentially, where they talk about like this constellation, or I'm making up things now. Something to do with Bethlehem. And there's something in the zodiac that these people talk about Bethlehem, and um, you know,
Mm-mm.
yeah, I don't know much about it, and so I'm not really going to give too much of an opinion. I just think that when you get told, no, those things are evil, stay away from that, it's when things get a little bit squirrely. That's all I'm trying to say.
Uh, yeah. I mean,
What do you
it's
mean?
it's tough to say. I mean, the thing is, let's be honest. It's like an operating system on your PC. You can go really deep. You can install Linux, some Linux variant for your PC, and it will be a great OS. But not everyone is designed for that level of access or control. They'll just F it up. And that's the same thing. I mean, you've seen some people, you tell them that Jesus wasn't actually born on the 24th of December. And that's enough to just take them off the rails. And next thing they're like doing crack and telling you
But
it's
we
all a
know
lie,
that
it's
that
all a
whole
lie.
thing is like it's like a bunch of pagan holidays mixed with
Yeah,
like the
but that's
festival of
not, but
lights mixed
let's not
with
conflate
everything.
the issue here. The issue is that not everyone, my point being is that not everyone can handle all the information. You understand? They cannot handle it.
Yeah.
So I get when someone will say, look, yes, you can actually follow this whole astrology thing and it can give you a lot of wisdom, but chances are you're not one of them. It's just statistically speaking, out of 100,000, chances are you're not one of them. If I start trying to teach you about how the planets and the stars are a sign for things to come here, or for things happening in the universe, which actually makes sense, right? I mean, a terrible incident, even if it's an accident, has a sequence of mistakes. So we were arguing, so that's when I forgot to turn off the gas stove when I just turned it on and then I walked away. That's a small terrible accident already. And then the second accident was because we were arguing the whole time for the next 15 minutes, I was absent-minded, so that when I got back to the stove and like thought I was turning it on for the first time, then lit it, it's another terrible accident. And it all together in the sum of things is this one big terrible incident. So a big incident is made up of smaller incidents, just like with 9/11, for example. I mean, there's several things.
Oh
They
jeez.
no,
But
I'm
like
just saying.
before I
My,
don't try to go too wide. There's one more thing I want to say about that before we move on because
okay,
I just remembered it. So
but my point
I'm saying
being,
don't go too far, right?
okay, my point being, there, there's a it's just not possible for everyone to access that understanding without losing a screw or two. And so it's not for everyone, man. It's not for everyone.
Like they say, you're either like called to it or not, right?
Yeah.
Like the things that I'm being recommended through algorithms and things I'm picking up.
The AI Lord.
Someone else is not, you, for instance, are not getting those same recommendations and stuff. So that alone should tell you that I'm receiving the things that, however you want to put it, is what I'm supposed to be viewing right now. And other people are getting what they're supposed to be viewing right now. If you want to think of like some overarching like plan,
Yes,
you
the
know,
the
the
the, the
reason why,
corporation
like
in Silicon
why am
Valley,
I seeing these things like
because of the algorithm.
the zodiac and mysticism and all these things,
But you're not
and
equating the algorithm
piecing
to
it
God,
back
right?
to No, not at all. I'm saying that I am equating it to some form of consciousness, though. Once you reach a certain level of consciousness, certain things appear.
Yeah, yeah. But it's
Um,
also called Google. It's just like using your data and
that you
manipulating you.
can look you can look at it that way, obviously, and there's a lot of evidence to point directly towards that, and that's the that I feel is the easiest one to explain it.
Yeah.
But I like to imagine I go a little bit deeper than that.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying
You know,
it
I'm not
was
saying, I'm just saying, like, sometimes I'll get a recommendation of a video and it's got 300 views and there's 50 subscribers and it's the top of my recommendations and it's got to do with something that I didn't even search for. And I think about that. And then when I play it, because I'm like, why would I be getting this video? And then there's something in there that literally changes my whole life, dude. And I think about those types of things and I go, there's there's so many variables here. It's not a viral video. It's not a known channel. Other people are not getting this. I can probably point out in like the whole radius of my neighborhood and tell you no one got that
mm,
recommendation. So why did I get it? Right? That's why I'm saying I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it and say it's this or it's that or it's just the algorithm, you know? Um, so that's why even now that they're talking about it, because I love this thing where people are now really delving more into consciousness. And people aren't also afraid to talk about it anymore. You know, you're seeing guys on like Rogan on his podcast. He's having a lot of these different types of dudes on.
like Alex Jones.
And oh boy.
No, but
No,
I
man.
did. Alex Jones has some
No, but he's
interesting.
not, he's got nothing to do with consciousness, dude.
He does. He
Um,
actually, I just saw a video of that he was talking about.
in recent years, but he's not known for that. You know, if you know Alex Jones, it's more for the conspiracy stuff and being right and all that. But I know recently he has sort of been mentioning God more and consciousness more, but I'm talking about dudes who have been studying this for 50 years, 60 years. Um, and where they're talking about it now
Yeah,
where science, a lot of like even people who are materialists and stuff, they have kind of dismissed the subjective experience of each individual human being. You know, uh, as you know, they like to say it's, oh, that's anecdotal or whatever. But now more and more people are talking about how that subjective experience is the most important thing to the individual.
of
And you
course.
can't really say that, oh, you're wrong. It can't be proven. Because that person actually, that thing actually did happen to them. You know, whether it's like they saw Bigfoot or, you know, they got abducted by aliens or whatever it is, or Billy
Uh,
Carson screaming there in his living room.
I think a lot of people are
Like,
also just going crazy, my friend, because like no, really,
I'm not saying it's everyone.
because you just said something, whatever you just said, it was like it contained a lot of trigger worthy statements and segments. For example, let me just dive into the most glaring one. Most glaring nail that's sticking out is this whole thing of you can't say that this is wrong now. Sometimes, yes, you
No, wait,
can.
what do you mean you can't say that this
You
is?
can't say someone's personal experience is wrong. Like some people are wrong.
Well, not
Some people
like,
say
let's
this
not try
guy.
use wrong and right
Some
because
people
it's
say
too definite.
some people say this black man raped me, and then 16 years later the DNA is like, nah, he wasn't even there. So or like
But
video
what's that
evidence.
got to do with anything?
Yeah, because you're wrong. It's not your experience. You were wrong. It never happened. You're a liar. Like, let's not forget that. We can't be too soft to the point where we say, well, everyone's got their truth. Like, yes, but
Which
also at
is
the same
true.
time, yes, it's true, but like, you're also wrong sometimes. Like, just
You're
say,
trying to, but the thing is, you're trying to put two things together.
but they
Yeah.
have to exist together. They have to be
They
together.
do, but I'm saying that things of consciousness and the day-to-day grind of, like, let's just call it humanity or the carnal mind, these are two separate things, and actually a lot of the time they conflict.
Hmm.
This is why materialists will tell you, oh, there's no such thing as God.
Yes.
You know?
Um.
This is why quantum physicists, I'll just keep it on the in the science vein, can say, no, the material world actually doesn't exist. It's all just potential based off of the perception of the subjective individual.
Well, the quantum physics doesn't say it like that, but that's what we can conclude
Well,
from it.
waveforms collapsing in on themselves. Not to
Yeah.
get technical, but
Okay. Um.
anyways, my point being is that these are two opposites that they work together. It's not like, and this isn't new stuff, dude.
Yeah.
You had Gautama talking about the world is Maya. It's illusion. What do you mean when you say that?
Mm.
Oh no, it's some type of philosophical thing. It's like, no, wait. But if we're looking at quantum physics and they're saying the same thing, then isn't it interesting that 5,000 years ago, this, maybe not him alone, because maybe there's just a bit of truth in that's always going to follow us, no matter what time period we're living in. Um, Maybe they're right, and the two, there's this perfect balance of the outer and the inner, because we do, like, it's dumb to say this, it doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, if I tell someone, oh, I had this dream yesterday and this happened and it was so real. No, it's just a dream, man. It's not real. But it's like, you can't tell me it. Okay, I get it now because I woke up. But while it was happening, it was so real. I was actually scared. I was actually cold. I was actually hungry. I could hear this monster behind me. So, who's to say that this physical life here isn't just another one of those things? And when you die, you just wake up into another dream.
Mm. That I would
That's just,
say makes
yeah.
sense. Yeah. That I would say makes a little bit of sense. Um. Consciousness is probably recycled, repurposed, just like everything else in this. Every atom in this universe is just being recycled, reused, repurposed. So it makes sense that consciousness is also recycled and reused.
There is it, obviously, with, like, that's why Tom Campbell's work is so fascinating to me. And he even says it himself. Like, I didn't come up with this. Like, if you just go through the ancient writings, it's all there. And what I'm trying to put through to people is that you don't even have to go further than your Bible. You're going to see all of it in there if you look for it correctly. Because they go from like historicity into mysticism, and I think that's like the big confusion, right? You have this like the works of Jesus,
Mhm.
and oh yeah, this is like plausible. Oh yeah, okay, he's doing the healings and stuff, but he's a miracle worker and all of that. But then, and they're like, oh yeah, it's proved he did live in this area, and these people said this, and the sycamore tree was around at this point, and then it goes, oh, but he raised himself from the dead. So then you have this big change right at the end, and I think that's what confuses people when it's like a history lesson and then into like this that area. Whereas if you guided them along through this history and then telling them about all these things of consciousness, that would make more sense.
Uh, well, it's always been there. Um, it's always been there for a long time in the text, but people will do with it what they want.
I don't
So
care
we
if you
have
got your last $100. You go borrow it right now and you send it in.
exactly. You see, so people like to focus on prosperity gospel, healing ministries, you name it. And usually, if you ask me, just the things that are most exciting. So these ministries that are like, hey, we're just gonna sit you down and teach you what the Bible says. It's not exciting. It's not sexy. It's not gonna draw the crowd, right? It's not gonna garner the financial support that they wish. So I'll let you think of that what you will. Why do they want glamour and glory?
Maybe they
And
don't even know, dude. Think about it.
maybe they
You know,
don't even know.
maybe they're like fourth, fifth generation of
Like Joel
pastors, and
Osteen.
they just, exactly. But here's the thing that I find very interesting about those guys, and actually more recently, I've been just lending my ear to a lot of like I'm that type of person. I hear it on the TV, I go check it out. I lend an ear and I'm like, okay, what are they saying exactly? And more recently I've started noticing a trend of more of a mystical approach. And I'm like, huh, okay, maybe times are changing. They're even talking about now when you open the Bible, it's a mirror.
That's what they
And I'm like,
say.
that's a very mystical thing to say, right?
Mm.
Um, so basically, when you're reading the things, you're reading it as yourself. So if you look at all the things that Jesus spoke about, Yehoshua, and you're
Yeshua.
reading it,
Yeshua.
there's that, and there's also I've heard these other Jewish people say Yehoshua,
Yeah, because they don't want to say his
Messiah.
name. Because they don't want to say his name. You
No,
know
but
this. That guy,
these are
JC,
Christians who are saying
the Jews refer to Jesus as anything except for Jesus.
it.
They will never call him Yeshua. They're like JC, that guy, you know,
um,
but anyway, okay,
but
continue.
yeah, basically what I'm saying is that so I've been hearing that a lot lately. I've also been hearing about like people really looking at those verses where I had a little bit of confusion as well, where it's like, joint heirs with Christ to the kingdom, those types of things. Placing people on that level. Um, and even Paul, who wrote, I live yet not I, Christ lives my life. Um, so I'm seeing like this sort of a wave of people starting to push that more. And maybe that's what
Do you think
needed
it's
to
a good
happen.
thing? Do you think it's a good thing?
Of course, dude, because when you're going through that approach, the mystical approach, now it opens up the book again, Now, when you're looking at reading from the beginning, you're like, oh, maybe there's a different way of looking at this. You know, if it's a mirror, right?
But isn't it audacious of you to call scripture, which is said to be spirit inspired, right? So it's always been a metaphysical text, and now you go, let's give it some metaphysical nature to it. Like, isn't that audacious? Because it was already metaphysical, but what you're saying is
Yeah, but
this
people
metaphysical
couldn't.
explanation is
Yeah.
not sufficient. I'm gonna go and add my own. Like, are we not just introducing the pathway for manufacturing our own Talmudic scriptures and writings? Because
Look, the holding up of the mirror thing. I mean, that's you can't find that anywhere in the
yes, there
text.
that's fine. But like it's a question of how deep do you go with this now? Like, because I would think that Jesus, when he was giving those parables, he actually wanted everyone to put themselves in the shoes of the prodigal son or the father or the brother who was annoyed with his father for accepting the son back or for putting themselves in the shoes of the farmer who had a wheat field that had tars in it, like thorns and thistles. But he didn't,
Tears.
you know what I mean? Like, so I think that's always been the idea. The idea has always been put yourself in these shoes because,
But remember, from the medieval time, the Middle Ages, that's when it was lost, right? Now you had people who were like basically peasants, and then you had these leaders,
who
and
couldn't read or write Latin, if they could
exactly.
even read
So,
or
like,
write.
how are they? How are you gonna? To those people, it's like, oh, we're just gonna control these guys,
Hmm.
you know.
Which is true.
Um, but it's like you always say, maybe it was just that's just the learning curve. It had to go from there and start building itself up till now we're in 2026 where you would get burnt at the stake in the Middle Ages for some of the messages that the pastors are saying today.
Hmm.
Because they're kind of also moving out of that whole, like you said, prosperity and um, those types of
Healing
approaches.
ministries. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
And now they're
Khroshanda
just
Barasanda
going.
Pata 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 Waramba Pataba.
Look, dude, there's you must something you must keep in mind about chanting is that it's been used in many different cultures for eons. So I don't know why people find it so strange. Maybe because they can't find a direct path in the book to say exactly this is what they're talking about. But it's always been used as a tool to sort of create that atmosphere to be open to something more spiritual.
What if it's just
Except with some
opening you up to
people,
demons? Like you think about it, why couldn't you just say, meditative state, like in a church when the band starts playing, and they're like "Du-du-du-dum-dum, tsh, ding ding ding, and everyone gets into this meditative state and they're like, save me, Father. That can also be a meditative state. But why do you have to
of
go to
course, it's creating the atmosphere.
like when I hear what's this con man's name again? The old guy who talks
Con
about the
man,
tube of demons. It's like a tube of demons.
Kenneth Copeland.
Kenneth Copeland. When I hear him speaking tongues, as he calls it, oh my goodness, I just see a devil. Literally, like I see no spirituality. He's just like rattling something off. Like, kama
Look,
daba
I
daba
did I
zaba
did check
dabada. Laba da do.
a podcast with him and Bryce Crawford, and like literally as he's busy speaking, he just like goes into it for like 5 seconds, but very calm, very like relaxed. And I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that. Um, but you must remember, my background is that
Yeah, mine
literally
too. I
from when I
know.
was a little kid,
Yeah.
where the
If you
whole church is doing it. and
Yeah.
like
And if you
people
don't
are
do it,
laid
there's
out
something wrong with you.
crying.
If you don't do
Of
it, there's
course,
something
dude.
wrong with you. And you know about people
Um,
who every single Sunday they were going through phases where they're starting to be like possessed by the Holy Spirit. You know what I'm talking
yeah,
about? And
like
going,
I know, no, like look,
hula, hula, and people are
I've
like,
had very like, and I mean, we've had very, very personal experiences with it. We don't have to go into that. I remember the look on your face. Oh my gosh, I remember the look on your face, and I was like, oh yeah, like you're not used to this, like
bro.
on this level where it looks like something else is happening.
No, I've seen that in other people's. Like I've seen that at church, but I've never had to
Yeah,
have
but I
that
mean,
at
in a
home.
home where like you're
Yeah.
chilling, and then the person's walking past you and starts screaming at you, you know. Well, at least they were screaming at me, but
Yeah, I remember, I remember
I
that.
do not like. I can see the whole thing in my head right now, where like, and I just looked at you, and I remember your face was that you were completely wide-eyed,
Yeah,
like what just happened,
dude.
and you were saying, I think that changed you, to be honest.
Why?
Because you even said something like a few days later, and I was like, this guy's still shook by that. Like I'm so used to that already. Um,
Uh,
like imagine ripping one and then coming out to the kitchen, and then it's busy happening, and you're like, oh man,
shit.
I should have waited a little bit.
Dude, the
So I've been
funny
through
thing is,
like all of it, dude. But you were kind of saying like, wow, if that was genuine, like you were so lost for words, like you had never experienced it on that level. I'm like, this is
no,
so normal,
but
dude.
let me be honest with you.
But I know it's not normal to
Yeah,
most
and I
people.
didn't feel like it was genuine. I feel like it was a form of hysteria, right? Like, go get a job and all of that will stop. Like, just,
Dude, but it's, you must remember there's something called auto suggestion, right?
yeah.
Um, Hypnotists do it on stage all the time.
Mm,
Um, I'm gonna make you do this, and then he just walks to every person. He's like doop 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 doop, and they all just completely pass out.
yeah. Yeah, I think that a
So
lot of pastors do that.
there's a lot of that. Obviously, you know, you're in this one area, um, and
I
it's
want to
kind
go
of like
down
the
a certain
shared
hole.
experience. But there's something I wanted to say. Oh yes, about like the chanting thing.
Yes.
Many people have done it. Remember that other chick who sings so beautifully? It's like Shanti something, not Ashanti, obviously. um, she like sits out there in nature, and there's a guy who
Yes,
plays
Shanti
the,
Om.
yeah, and her
Yeah.
voice is like incredible. Now, that's a very light form of it
Mm,
because you're not singing any words really, or like if you are, it's like a couple of phrases, and that is also doing the same thing. It's creating that atmosphere to raise you up out of, you know, whatever you're in, um, to that point of where you can experience something that's outside of yourself, or inside of yourself rather. Um, but to sit back and say this one is evil, that one is good, once again to me feels disingenuous. Um, I don't pretend to understand because I still can't find it in the book. Um, those exact phrases and words that people say. I'm like, where does that come from? You know,
uh,
even if you want to give it like speak in other tongues or whatever it is,
do you
even if
remember?
you want to give it that, that still doesn't say how you're saying what you're saying. Because remember, everybody's kind of saying the same thing.
Do you remember a guy called TB Joshua? He passed away. This Nigerian prophet pastor. He called
Is he the one who
himself.
sprayed the people with the doom?
No. He wasn't that extreme. He was called Prophet TB Joshua, and they would televise his services on Emmanuel TV. They had like their own TV station and stuff, and he would perform healing miracles and prophecy and all that. Big church in Nigeria, big, and he was also praying in tongues. He'd do that as well, and then one day, and I've tried to look for this video. I really tried to because I want to share it, but it's difficult to find. You know, things that are very old, they fall out. Where Susan also saw it, where one guy in the audience was like, they sometimes bring the mic to specific people and are like, what's been ailing you or what's your problem?
Yeah.
And then he's talking about Satanism, and he's a
I've
member
got a
of,
micro
and
something.
he was, this is deep. He's saying that he was part of Satanism, and
I think I remember
actually,
you once telling me something about this.
and he was talking about how actually what happens, his experience now, right, is that the devil actually uses what people call praying in tongues. Echolalia is actually from the devil. And what happens is that when, for example, you're praying to God, he would begin praying, quote unquote, in tongues to disrupt whatever healing blessing is going on there. And then it
Like
gets other,
Snape.
yeah, like basically like like an interrupting curse, like, and um it will even get other people to do it as well, and that further enhances the whole blockage of whatever blessing you're trying to pass on here. And he went he went even deeper into it. And TB Joshua was standing there listening to this, and his face completely was, in my opinion, completely changed. It was like he was really looking at this dude and thinking, like, you could see like gears working in the back of his head, like click, 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 click.
So
And
you
he's
don't
thinking,
think he
he's
was
like,
a plant?
could be, but I mean, what I remember
Like
after that
I'm
is
saying that TB Joshua put him there so that he could try tell his
people
congregation
stop.
like yeah, this I'm using this ploy as an example to try to tell you something.
That if he did, big ups to
It's
him.
obviously
Big
brilliant,
ups.
obviously.
Yeah, because that's exactly what I think. I think that um Paul himself, and it's obviously not Paul's religion, but Paul the apostle really tried to dissuade people from doing that because he knew it's garbage.
But he also said other strange things that people also look over,
Yeah, he
you
also
know.
said if it
They
would be
said
better if
women
you didn't
must be
marry.
quiet. They said women must just be quiet and stand in the back of the church where you can't really
No,
be seen or heard.
that was a
In
letter to
Timothy says that.
a church, and the reason he says that is because, as I understand the letter or that chapter, basically that church was receiving a lot of criticism from people in that area because in that area it was not acceptable for women not to be covered, and it was not acceptable for women to speak. So he was trying to say, guys, in your meetings, make sure the women are covered and like the heads are covered and that they don't speak. Not because he's saying women should not speak at all, but because he's saying you guys are being targeted and they're gonna find a reason to persecute you. You get it? Like, because you're women, because the tradition in that area is different. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Obviously, if you take it from the mystical approach, it means that um, the woman normally represents the emotions, So from in that way, it's saying like, don't let your emotions, like, put your emotions away. When you're doing this like spiritual work. Um, that's
Okay.
essentially from the mystical approach.
But can
And
you
that's
put your
what
emotions
that's
away? I mean, from the
because you remember
mystical
you
approach.
get a lot of people who, just because you have like an emotional experience, that doesn't mean that it's you've actually had an experience. Um, but that's why they do the song and the dance and they get you all hyped and it's like, oh yeah, and then you go back and you're like, those emotions fade away and now you're back to whatever you were before you entered there. Um, so it's something that's a lot more deeper than that. Things of the quote unquote spirit. I keep doing this today. It's kind of annoying. Um,
I think you've got something there. I think you've got something there because even the word repentance, the original Greek word, if I'm not mistaken, actually means transformation of the mind. So when it says repent, it means transform yourselves, transform yourself, not feel contrition or guilt. You understand? So the meaning was
yeah.
obscured by the translation from Greek into Latin and then from Latin into English because the Greek really spoke about the transformation of the mind, not
And this is
feel
why when they
feel
say
guilty.
the husband must put away the wife, they're talking about that. Like the mind must able to set the emotions away. Um, and that's why it's like, oh, the man is the head of the household. Uh, and then it was obviously taken literally. And I mean, we've had quite like a lot of dark things happen because of those types of beliefs. And it kind of goes to my point now that I'm talking about when I say
Put away your
it,
wives. Are you talking about? Are you talking
not the
about?
divorce. Um, there's a It might even be in Thomas. But there's a few other places in, you know, I think it's Deuteronomy, uh, somewhere around there.
We've gone down a
They talk
really
about like,
mystical, mysterious path here. Let me ask you something. What's the
I mean,
kookiest?
I know there's something you wanted to hear
What?
from me, which has got nothing to do with what we're speaking about. So I do want to segue into that.
What's the
Um,
kookiest spiritual garbage you've ever heard? Something that made you go,
Yo.
"What?" I think I've gone off the deep end here.
There's a lot that I used to think was that, and then
And now you're just
later on I
crazy.
was like, oh, that might actually be true. Um,
How about
the thing
Samael
you that you
Aunwo?
that you, the thing that you know about me is that like I'm obviously reading up on these things, watching videos on these
Yeah.
things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I am doing or believe those things. I think they're good conversation starters, not even necessarily for a podcast or anything, just in general. Like, I want to see what happens with someone when you bring these things to the table. And when you see their eyes widen and they're like, oh my goodness, like, they kind of move away from it or they move towards it or they just completely ignore it.
So your interest in
But
this is just
the kookiest,
sowing chaos, the seeds of chaos. That's
no, no, it's not that. It's just like what it does is,
he
and
was
it
a
kind of
regular
ties back
Joe. Then he
into that.
started talking to Mikey, and
And he jumped off a building or
You
something.
know, yeah,
Like even with the TB Joshua thing.
yeah.
Say for instance, it wasn't a plant,
Oh,
and
I
this was
wanted
just a
to remind you.
guy.
Yes, sorry, Nigerian pastor, witch doctor. Just tell me something like that. Continue.
Okay, and yeah. So if in that moment he was really like he had a realization that he could have been wrong, then it means that this whole time he was doing something that he was taught or thought was right,
Mm.
but never actually went deeper than that.
Yeah, and then he
And
realized, and then
all
he
it did was
went.
it took this one guy to give an opinion, and then he was like completely shocked.
Yeah,
So, I mean, half the time I'm trolling because people are always so serious about everything.
yeah,
Uh, and I'm just like, but what about this? What if this? Or what if it happened like this? And then it gets them thinking a little bit, and then, I mean, that's all it is, right? Would you rather want that, or would you want, I'm clapping my hands, so I'm gonna meet Jesus? You know, like, what is it that you want? Because I guarantee you, I would be grabbed by both arms and thrown right out of that door.
mm,
But if you there and you quiet and you're agreeable and you know you're doing, I mean, think about the altar call, dude. That only started like 100 years ago or something.
altar
They
call,
never did that.
altar
You
call.
know, like if anybody feels like they want to make Jesus their Lord and Savior, come up to the front. That was never a thing. It's a very
Yeah,
modern thing that they've added in, and one of my suspicions, I could be wrong, is that the way you tell if a church is successful or not is how many people, um, quote unquote, do the altar call. So every month you've got a certain number of people, and then they say, "Oh, this month we had 2,000 people." Oh, wow, really? Oh, we only had 800 people. Oh, yeah, you know, just keep going at it, keep preaching. You know,
mm.
um,
So I wanted to bring this theory into you. To you.
some
It's a
witch
wild
doctor of
shot, right?
Nigeria.
So apparently, okay. So you know, there's several pastors in Africa right now, many actually, but several very prominent pastors who do healing or perform miracles of some nature,
I mean,
supposedly.
they're all around the world, but I know it's like, you know, there's a lot here in Africa.
Yeah, there's something been kicking off, and so this guy uh said he was a pastor himself, and his church was performing very poorly, and he was told that if he wants to, he was told by a senior pastor from another church that, look, if you want your church to pick up, you need to have miracles, wonders, signs. And if you go to this person in Nigeria, he will help you
Oh, the
out,
witch
and you
doctor.
will,
I see.
and you will make sure that you have these abilities. So this guy goes to Nigeria, speaks to some dude. Apparently, it's someone that many pastors like. Who's this dude? Major One. He's like they like to call him. This guy from Mozambique, some super church pastor. Um,
Not Francis Miles.
no, not Francis
I talk
Miles.
to the earth.
Talk to the dirt.
I talk to the dirt,
Yeah, and yeah,
which is, I mean,
you go there, you make some kind of pact, and you come back, and suddenly you've got powers. You know, it's obviously some supernatural pact or something. Uh, and they say several pastors from Africa, they keep going there to renew this contract. And it's a dark, evil contract. And I could tell you more about the story, but I've forgotten a lot about it. Basically, his church multiplied, it grew, but there was some dark covenant. I can't remember if it's you would have to keep sleeping with virgins all the time or something. So like he'd
What
keep
a
getting
gig.
these, huh?
What a gig. I'm joking.
Yeah, but I mean it's dirty because what it means is that in
Oh,
from your own church you keep having to like find young innocent girls and then sleeping with them so that you can somehow continue this covenant. So it's basically a covenant of
blood
defilement.
covenant.
Yeah, exactly. Trippy blood covenant. Um, I don't know.
But what I'm saying
Take it,
is, I
leave it.
don't
I'm
know.
just saying.
No, no,
Those are some of the stories.
here's the thing that our first question I have is, did people get healed?
I suppose so.
You suppose so, or like what percentage are
Well,
we
I have
talking
no way
about
to
here?
verify the story, brother. I have no way to.
But you suspect that they did, right?
I suspect there were people who were healed, or probably he was doing some crazy things like,
Because
walking on air, because they like to
what
do
would the
stupid things.
what would the point of this whole like evil covenant be if there wasn't any healings? Where you're like, this isn't working.
No, but what if it's just a
I've sold
healing?
my soul and it's not working.
What
Like,
if it's just a healing for the show? Like suddenly the person's walking and then next week they're back in the wheelchair, but it's too late. That one visual has already caused the recruitment of like 1,000 new followers.
this is why I'm saying it, because if I'm in, and here's just one thing I will add. I believe that the Bible is probably the greatest book of all time. Uh, I know I say a bunch of things, but I just do want to clarify that. There's so much depth in that people haven't even uncovered yet. So that's just the one thing I will say. Second thing is that even in there, they accuse Jesus of the same thing. He casts out devils with devils, right? And
In the
Jesus
name of
even
devils,
says
yeah.
like if I cast out devils with devils, then it means that it's a house built against itself and it won't be able to stand. That's why that
Bingo.
logic is flawed.
Yeah.
So how so now we bring it to this time. How could it be that the guy is doing healings, but once again is being accused of the same thing?
Not accused, he's telling the story. He's saying that. And I don't know um if he actually healed anyone, but his church did grow, right? And
This is what I will
yeah,
say. This is how they get people these days. Is they promise the three pillars of life: health, wealth, and love. As soon as you add that to your sermon, you're going to have a lot of people running in, because those are the three main things that people are looking for in their life.
and quick,
Either it's
and quick.
companionship, or it's wealth, or it's health, and as you said, quick. That's all. It doesn't take anything else other
Yeah.
than that. If you're looking for a better life, if you're looking for a wife, or if you want to get rid of that disease, people will be like, oh my goodness, he's talking to me. So
Yeah.
when you hear that, that's when you kind of have to. Um, Now, obviously, in the Bible, it says that all of those things are covered. But when someone makes that like their message, then now you're going the like the self help route, because that's all that those books really talk about.
Yeah.
There's a chapter on healing. There's a chapter on wealth. There's a chapter on love, and then whatever their technique is, which is just like some rehashed thing from 100 years prior.
Mm.
Same with psycho-cybernetics. Same with Think and Grow Rich. Name them all. Um, it's all saying the exact same stuff. Now, can you find something in there? Of course, but there's like the dark side of self-help as well. I actually checked the documentary, and yeah, if people don't have the right understanding, then you're gonna think, oh, if I just do these techniques, it's gonna happen for me. And that normally leaves people destitute and even in a worse position than they were before. But yeah, that's all I was saying about that.
But
Obviously, I don't want to go on about this topic the whole time.
yeah, but what is the issue with self-help? I mean, does it really work? You know,
In which way would, like, when you say self-help, what do you mean?
Tony Robinson, Joel
Tony Robbins.
Osteen, Tim what?
Joel Osteen. He's not a self-help guy.
He is,
But
he is,
no,
he
Tony
is.
Robbins. Like Tony
Tony Robbins.
Robbins, Mel Robbins, Jay Shetty,
You see,
Napoleon Hill,
yes, all this.
Bob Proctor, rest in peace. I mean, the list goes on. What's that other guy, Jim Rowan? This,
Yeah,
like,
the list
so
goes on,
many of
bro.
them.
I mean, if you
And you
really
have
had,
got to use your mind, and you will be out of your predicament.
is that how he talks?
Dude, I've seen that's Jim Rohn. I've seen so many of these videos, dude. It's like I've seen it all, bro. There was a time when I was just
Mainlining that.
like I don't know what it's kind of like a
It's comforter stuff,
it's
isn't it?
almost like an addiction.
It's
Yeah,
comfort
it's
food,
like
isn't it?
yeah, you're consuming it, but
All right,
it's
my
not gonna do the
baby, you're
work for you.
fine. Shh, shh. You can do
Yeah.
anything, my baby.
And when
Isn't
you
that?
do it, remember to use your mind. You know,
Yeah,
sound more like a pedo, will you?
it makes me think of Fight Club and just how, you know, Tyler Durden, how he had that whole perspective on self-help is just for wankers and really like get up off your ass and do something. Like stop being someone who needs to like be coddled into success. Like life has been happening for hundreds of years. What am I talking about? Hundreds of years, thousands and thousands
Hundreds
of
of years.
years, right? People,
Millions.
yeah, human beings at least, like modern human beings, and
Well, they're putting it somewhere at 1 million these days, but just keeps like climbing for some reason.
yeah, and just get
Look
over it.
at
Like you have the
I
best life
don't
ever.
like. I'm not against the whole self-help thing, not at all. I think that people like Rhonda Byrne, people like Joe Vitale,
Yeah.
these people who are these, it's like snake oil salesmen. You know, Rhonda Byrne is obviously famous for the book The Secret. We
Oh,
obviously
really?
know
He's the
about
one who
that
wrote
book.
it. No, I know the book. I know the
She,
book.
yeah, the Australian woman. And you're dealing with like metaphysical teachings here, right? And you're putting it into like this bite-size um, spoonful, and you're franchising it, and then you're selling it to all these people, and then they just put all these different, like, I guess, spiritual leaders like Michael Beckwith, just a bunch of these people who had millions of followers to begin with, and then you put them all in this book, and then you made the video, and they're all doing their own interview. And now you have like, think about it, 5, 10, 20, 30 million people from just the base of these people who are in the video. And then from there, it spreads out. And she made so much cash from that.
Let's see how much.
Rhonda Byrne.
What was?
Dude, it's called The Secret.
Yeah. Okay. I want to check.
I promise you, she made a lot of cash with that book. But just the stuff that they had in there was preposterous, dude.
Ooh,
The what?
jeez.
How much?
Sales by Burned. $300 million US. Well, isn't that a great self-help?
No,
You
but
know?
like, she is an example, but at the same time, it's like, no, you're telling us how to do it. So are you actually utilizing it, or are you just saying this is the way, go this way, but you never actually went that way?
Exactly.
Because think about it, it would mean that this, and it's such a, for me it's a very tricky thing to talk about, because I've literally used it myself and it's worked phenomenally, where like, and here we're going back to that subjective thing, but it's worked so ridiculously well that I can't explain how it was even possible that it even worked. And it makes no sense. And if someone who's like, I'm a logistics guy, you know, that person would have told me, no, you can't just do that and expect this thing to happen. And it literally happened exactly like that. Out of the ether, out of like the infinite invisible, this thing just quote unquote manifested, that word that's just been butchered. And in my own personal experience, I can say, this is crazy that this actually happened. But to someone else, they'll be like, you can't do it like that. So, for instance, in The Secret, there's this one dude who's like, I was just getting bills and bills and bills. And then one day I sat down on my couch and I said, I'm going to be getting checks and checks and checks. And then he's like, and one day I went out and I just got a check and a check. I still get some bills, but more checks.
Yeah, I remember that testimony.
And it's like, what are you even talking about? Now you're going to have some person who just like sits there and somehow,
Believes that.
oh man, we can get like really kooky with it if we
Yeah.
want.
Like
We
someone's
can
just
go like, no, we can go to the deep end where it's like, it could even be possible, but the thing that's stopping it is you don't deep down inside actually believe there's no pathway to it. So if you look at Master Sri Akashana, he even speaks about it as well. And it's funny enough, he was also in that documentary as a charlatan. But yeah, it's a little bit too
You
out
know,
there for
what
this
I will say
conversation.
is I believe there is a path. For example, I like to call myself a an optimistic realist. Okay. So I will say the situation is shit. But we can find a way out of it if we
What, through the sweat of our brow,
not
putting our
only
nose to the
it's
grindstone.
also a lot of leveraging, right? Because what people don't realize is often you have to leverage what you have. So if you were born with a trust fund, leverage it. But if you weren't born with a trust fund and you're a good looking person, leverage your looks. There's many women and men who leverage their looks, right? They look like something and they realize that when people look at them, they see something. So that's what they pander to, whether it's selling cars, getting new clients for the law firm, whatever it is, they leverage that. Then you've got other people who realize that, okay, I'm very smart, but I'm not necessarily a salesman type person. So they leverage their intelligence by going to certain industries where they know they can pull off certain things. Good point in case being Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos,
Shout out to trillionaire Elon Musk.
yeah, yeah.
He
Jeff
just became a
Bezos,
trillionaire.
I mean, he spoke about it himself. He said he was studying physics at university and he had a problem, a maths problem, a physics or maths problem, and he couldn't solve it. And then this other guy who was studying as well with him said, "Oh, the solution to the problem is if you have this other, you need to know this other thing, and then you can apply it here, the solution, and to get the solution." And that's when Jeff Bezos says he realized in his mind, "Oh, I can never actually be a physicist because this requires a certain type of thinking, right?" Um, so he moved away from that. That's leveraging, it's knowing your own strengths and weaknesses, the opportunities and the challenges, and understanding how can I, you know, shift and move and engage with this so that I can have a favorable result or outcome. Now, in that situation, in that example you just mentioned, where the guy says, I was tired of getting bills, so I just said to myself, I'm going to get checks, checks, checks. There obviously has to be, and I believe this, for example, if I have the positive attitude of, I feel like making some money, I want money. What's going to happen, I believe, is that your subconscious mind will take that command as it is that says, this guy wants money. And suddenly, the way that you perceive things around you, where someone is saying, oh, the price of petrol is going higher and higher, you, instead of seeing a hurdle or a challenge, begin to see money making opportunities, right? You start to see an opportunity to invest in a stock. You see an opportunity to invest in a property. I mean, someone can look at a property and say, that's a piece of crap property. I'm not buying it. It's absolutely dilapidated. Another person with a different mindset says, this is a gold mine. It's a dilapidated building, but guess what? The price is low. And if I buy it low and improve it, renovate it, or even revamp it completely, I
Flip
will
it.
still be below the market value when I'm done. So the market value will be markedly higher than the input of my expenditures. So this is a good opportunity. So you've got, you've got this thing where your lens, your mental lens does determine what you see as possible in the real world. And I think that
Okay,
is key. So that's how
okay,
I
so
see something like a positive mindset actually working out. Goes to the
so
subconscious.
that's the misconception is people think that it's like positive thinking or something like that, which it's not at all. When we, in terms of like metaphysics, um, and I'm gonna give my example of my story. I'm gonna keep it very short because I don't know how many times I've told the story of something that has all those things that you mentioned now had none of those things were at play at all. And so it's like this impossible thing that quote unquote manifested. Man, I keep doing that. It's the last time. Um and so this is how it was. Uh Shared a laptop with my brothers and stuff, when we were a lot younger, teenagers.
And it
Saw
was
this
just porn.
picture on there. No. Um, what, like, funny enough, it wasn't even that accessible back then, to be honest. But yeah, so I see a picture of this chick. Um, just randomly on there on a file who knows one of my brothers, uh, and I was like, huh, like this chick is like cute or whatever. And so I obviously know about vision boards and stuff because I got like raised with those types of things.
Oh snap! Is this
And
the story that I know? It okay. I think I know the story. Continue.
yeah, so I see this picture, and every day I'm like sneaking a view. I'm like, man, this girl is like super. All of a sudden, she went from cute to hot now, right? Every time sneaking a peek, until I took the picture and put it on my phone. And I know it sounds cringe, but you're talking about like a teenager year. I'm like, and then I started doing all the things that I learned as a kid. Basically,
Sorry,
like my mom taught me.
but you weren't like jacking off and smearing this picture with your
No,
juice,
no, like,
because that's.
dude, that's like that's probably when it doesn't work. You see,
But you
I
remember
kept
that. Okay, keep telling your story because there's a story. Remember that one book we read about uh talisman and how they work? I think you read it with me as well. Continue. How
maybe
like
we'll get into that.
sigils, not talisman, sigils.
Yeah, sigil. It's like drawing a sigil with your
Okay, continue
with
your
your.
story. Sorry, I won't interrupt
Anyways,
anymore.
so like I said, I want to keep it short. So I, um, I had that inner prayer, that conversation, and I was like, look, yeah, I've seen this happen before. I believe in it. I know that you can have anything that you want if you just ask for it and treat it like you already have it. So at night when I would go to sleep, I would put the phone like on my pillow like that with the picture and say good night. Like, oh, we're going to bed now or something, and I'm lying in bed with this chick type of thing. I know it sounds cringe and whatever. It is what it is, and I don't even know when after that, dude. Honestly, I don't know the timeline after that, but I had a completely new phone, and I'm sitting in class, dude, and I have a BlackBerry, and on no, it was I had a BlackBerry, but I had Mixit on. Mixit is this app that we had, a South African app that everybody used to use, and MXIT, but we called it Mixit. And
It's the
I
precursor
get
to
a
WhatsApp.
random,
It's the precursor to WhatsApp, just so people understand. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a text app, and I get this like random message from a number I don't know, and it's like someone is like swearing at me, right? And I'm like, I'm sitting in class, and I'm like, what is this? I remember I was in computer class, CAT, computer and technology, or whatever it was called. I'm sitting on my phone, and I'm like, who is this? And I'm getting like sworn at and all this stuff. I'm like, look here, I think you got the wrong number. Um, and then I said, I'm who I am. And I remember it was two different chicks who were like taking turns with the phone, like going at me. And I was like, whatever. Then they were embarrassed. They were like, oh, like wrong person or whatever. And so I was like, what? That's so crazy. So I put my phone away. Later on, grab my phone again. I'm like, the person's like, oh, sorry about that. This is actually my number. I was talking with my friend. She was the one who said we must go after you and attack you and all this stuff for some other story that had nothing to do with me. It was literally the wrong person. And eventually, it's like I get the name, and I first take a second, and I'm like, wait, what? And now on Mixit, what would happen is only after you save it, like you could check the picture, um, and then boom, I see that chick from all that time ago that I was looking at, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is that chick. Dude, even now that I think about it, I'm like, this, it doesn't even make any sense, dude. It makes no sense. And then a few months later, I was dating her, and however long after that, I was literally lying in bed with her like that, exactly as I saw it. There was no approach. There was no trying to find out how I can get into contact, how I can get the number, who I can talk to get into the same type of circles. There was none of that stuff that you kind of mentioned before that can kind of boost you along. So how can you explain that? You can't explain it. So because I have that experience, it's like, what is actually happening? Like, how does this even work? And so, what's your thoughts on that story?
What I would say is, okay, first of all, when I try to give a possible means by which a positive attitude, and I know you and I both know positive attitude is not enough. There's a bit more than that, but let's just keep it simple. What I meant by the positive attitude will trickle into your subconscious and then cause your conscious mind to begin to be aware of things. I was just describing a possible route. You understand? So there's still some action linked to it. So, for example, even in your case, which is very noteworthy, there was an action on your part. So, not just the visualization, but actually also, I'm going to continue talking to these crazy people for a bit. You understand?
Yeah, but that I
Because,
do understand that, but I'm saying before that, like, think about it. Before that is nothing. Like that would be like saying, "Oh, I sat down and I visualized checks coming into my mailbox, and it actually happening."
yeah, but there was something that happened between that. Remember, there were some months. So there was a conversation that you were having with someone. Like, because there are people who wake up and they avoid everyone.
No,
They avoid
there was no.
You did. You did. You don't know it, but you did. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that even though you consciously were not aware of it, there was, because you, first of all, you got a phone that had Mixit capabilities, right? That would not have
No, I
been
mean all my
possible.
phones had mixed
Okay, great.
capabilities, but
But
even the one from before.
like I said, the key is
But I know what you're saying. You're saying that because I was even out there to begin with, chatting
yes,
to any person, it
yes.
opens up the possibility for someone to
Possibility.
slip in there.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like,
But is that enough to someone in the business world?
business world, I mean, dude, lots of people in the business world believe in that, in that kind of thing, in where they don't waste their time dealing with the minutia of things. They deal with the broad strokes. Oh, let's go for dinner. We like our conversation. Let's do something together, your business and my business. And then they turn and then they go to some executive dude and they're like, figure out a way that we can work together. You get it? Like, though now your employee has to figure out how we can do business together. But the job of the owner was just to sit down with the other owner and be like, I like you. I like the cut of your jib. Yeah, let's do something together. And now the employees who have degrees and whatnot, statistics, finance, whatever, they're the ones who now have to sit there and like, okay, well, boss says we should work with them. And then a junior asks foolishly, did they give us any guidelines? And the senior goes, no. It's your job to analyze their business, analyze our business, and figure out how we can work together. And I'm saying this from a real life experience that I've known, where a department head comes up and is like, look, we want to work together with these guys, figure out a way of doing it. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? Like, you're just assigning us to like figure out a multi-million-dollar venture, joint venture, just because the boss likes the company and wants to work with them. You understand? So there's
But what
always
I'm
has to
saying
be
is
a
this.
mechanism in the physical world.
But
Yeah.
okay, this is the example that I'll give you. Say, for instance, there's this chick. I'll show you the photo of her, and I say, dude, I like this chick. Can you give me any advice? Like, I'm just going to um pretend and imagine that she's my girlfriend. What are you gonna say to that in terms of how I should approach it?
How far is this person from you? Like from your sphere of influence? Goes to the same school? Is a movie star?
No, it's like I'm saying it's my exact story. I'm just bringing it to you now. So it's someone who's from the same neighborhood as me, but not same school, and there's probably like only one connection there, which is loose.
I would probably tell you, being the way that I am, that brother, you gotta get into touch with her. Then I mean, like, figure something out, and don't just like knock on her door.
100%,
Yes,
100%.
yeah, but
So
that's
what I'm
me.
saying is that no, but that's any normal person would say
Let
that.
me give you one more story.
Dude, go find out like who she is, get a number. You know, what you gonna be staring at a picture the whole time for? That's gonna do nothing.
Let me give you one story.
So this is why it's so jolting.
Let me give you this one story, and I want you to tell me if this proves that time. Because we all know what I mean. Not we might not all know, but you know they did this experiment where they basically entanglement of two um, quantum particles. I believe it was photons, where
Spooky action
they
at a distance.
changed.
That
Yes,
thing.
spooky action at a distance is what it's called. So basically, you've entangled these two particles, and you do something to this particle, which then causes this particle to do the same thing. Um,
Even though you've already split them,
even
it's
though
they're
you've already split
still
them, separated
reacting the
them,
same.
and they found this correlation. It surpasses time and space, basically. So you know what I mean. It surpasses time and space. So let me tell you this real life story. So my mom, some years back, was sitting at a house for a day or two. I remember like her bringing it up once or twice, like, oh man, she'd kept looking at her phone, and she's like, um, anyway, that's how I remember it. She'd like look at her phone, like look at her phone and say, ah, if I could just get 20,000 pula right about now, um, yeah, 20,000 pula would be really nice. There's some things I want to do, some things I want to get. And I'm just listening to this. And I'm like, yeah, well, I don't have 20K right now, mom. And she's like, yeah, I know. Like, okay. And then suddenly one day I show up to a house, like the next day, and she's like, yeah, I'm coming with you into town. Because she lived outside of town. And I was like, why? He's like, I won 20,000 pula. I was like, what? What do you mean you won 20,000 pula? He's like, yeah, I actually just realized this morning I was looking through my messages, and I realized that like 4 days ago I'd received this message saying that I've won 20,000 pula cash from my cell phone provider. So I was like, what are you talking about? Isn't this a scam? And then we went to the mobile provider, and they're like, yeah, indeed, you've won 20K. And then just filled out some forms, and the 20K was in her account like the next day. So that's trippy. Like, what's that? I mean, it's like because she
Imagine.
wanted the money, but she'd already won the money some days before. You get it? I
So
don't
is
know.
it maybe a case of she had seen, however she, like, I wouldn't say entered the draw, but
She didn't do anything
because
to enter the
somehow,
draw. The
somehow
draw
or
was
another, she would have had to see it, right? Like, maybe even if it's just an advertisement, like, oh, win 20,000 puller. Maybe it just like crosses your eyes, but you don't really pay much attention to it. And then that spooky action at a distance where it becomes manifested over here, and then in your mom, it sparks it as well, obviously happening at the same time. And then she says, I could really do with 20,000, not realizing that this thing had taken place. And then going through the messages and being like, oh, I actually won.
Mm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
You're saying in her messages. Well, one thing I can tell you is she did not apply. She did not enter any competition.
No, it's not even entering, but
Maybe she saw it somewhere.
just saw it. I mean, she's obviously with that provider, right?
Yes.
She wouldn't have, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So somewhere, somehow, maybe it was just, maybe even being in the town, seeing like, you don't always look at everything, just taking it in. That alone was able to sort of imprint it in the mind. And I'm going a
20K
little
would
bit
be nice.
kooky, yeah. And then being able to, because there's no importance you've placed on it, because you don't even really recognize it, but it's been imprinted in the mind. And now it just happens because there's no like resistance to it. Because that's what a lot of these people talk about, is that the reason why it's hard to win like the lottery or something is because there's too much importance on it. Like you can't not think about, oh my goodness, what would I do? And there's too much pressure on yourself. Whereas with other things where you think about someone and then you stop thinking about them and there's no importance to it. It was just a mental image and maybe an experience you had with them, talking to them or something. And then they call you out of nowhere and it's been like a year or two since you last spoke to them. And you're like, oh my goodness, I was just thinking about this person. So, because there's no resistance to it, it flows right through. It's like the mental image goes in, like, as within, and then boom, so without. You're not putting up any barriers in between it. That is what they would say in. That's why they say it's when you start off, it's like building a muscle. So if you're going to the mall a lot, the first thing you do is you start practicing with like parking spaces, like seeing a parking space in your mind, and then boom, finding them. And you
Mm.
start building on that until you can get to a place where you're doing stuff, or you can just get lucky like me. But also at the same time, the key thing I think was that space of time when um I stopped doing the thing of like looking at her picture, and I let it go because I was like, life just takes place. So
Mm.
it's like, whatever, who cares about that, too
Speaking,
busy at school and stuff. And then as soon as you stop thinking about it, it happens.
I think there's some just plain logic as well to what you've said. I mean, we often are our own worst enemies, the conscious mind. Just a stupid example, maybe, but like, for example, Napoleon Bonaparte. If he had not, if he had chosen not to try and invade Russia in winter, the whole world today would be different. because he'd already conquered so much of Western Europe, and his sphere of influence was massive. He could have just said, you know what? I think it's pretty good right now. Let's just enjoy what's going on for like the next 20 years. Right? This festitude, this empire that I've built up. I don't need to go into Russia. But the conscious mind said, but what if? But what if? You see? Look at Alexander the Great. Maybe that's what he was thinking. And it just caused the downfall of everything. The conscious mind is often our biggest enemy, whether you call it self-doubt or whatever form it takes. I'm then reminded of a book that I just mentioned just now. I can't remember the name of the book, unfortunately.
He's saying about the
sigils.
sigil.
Yes. So the idea behind sigils was that you would take something like this, written, I am rich. And you would then try to turn it into a sigil, something that, geez, I'm working counterclockwise, a sigil of some sort, something that encapsulates all the letters in your statement.
Yeah,
But
like
neatly.
I, A, R, and then put it in like a form.
Exactly.
That's
And
like a badge, like a sigil, essentially.
yes. And very important is that you do this with your own hand, right? And the final
Yeah.
sigil doesn't have to be glaringly obvious. In fact, it's better if it's not obvious. If you can then transfigure it into something that maybe looks beautiful or has the initial letters hidden, kind of. And
Yeah.
you then use this piece of
Witchcraft.
paper, basically, which now
I actually read it on like a witchcraft thing once.
Yeah. Oh. Which then imbues. I remember I read it specifically from the author, from the original guy who started this whole thing hundreds of years ago, and it's imbued with the meaning of the statement, and your subconscious mind recalls that, but the conscious mind now has the meaning of the statement hidden from its immediate gaze because now it's transfigured into this pretty sigil, right? However it may look. And here's, of course, the trippy part. You would say you have two ways of imprinting the sigil. One is the sexual route. The other is the
that's
route
the
of
jacking off thing.
yes. The other is the route of the death pose. Death pose involves basically doing some little figuring with your. You have to put your hands in your over your face somehow,
Fingering.
and then you try to like basically hold your breath until the moment where you can almost feel yourself passing out, and then inhale and look at the sigil, because that somehow allows the image to pass past your subconscious mind into your subconscious mind, which is where you want the statement to reside. Or, like you already mentioned, masturbate, ejaculate, and at the moment of ejaculation, you look at the sigil because that somehow imprints on your subconscious mind.
I think
and you-
because it's like both you're putting yourself into a very elevated state with both of those, like
yes,
whether it's
something like that.
survival or arousal.
Yeah. And
And I know you've done it,
what?
drawing this whole thing you've just mentioned. I know you've done it.
Bro, are you
What the hell?
dude, I've never done it.
You've done it, of
No,
course you've
I've
done
never
it.
done it. I've never done it. I've done it. You want pastor to call me now to a secret meeting?
Dude,
What are
you've
you talking about?
obviously done it. I like this is the reason why you knew every single step.
I'm just a studious person.
And it's okay. You don't have to be like scum about it. Like you have it right there in front of your toilet pot.
Like I turn the camera and you just see the wall is full of like
Like you've drawn sigils with your webs.
oh. But there's a crazy part I never forgot. Dracarys! No.
Dracarys.
Yeah, but anyway, so but what I always took from that.
But don't you think that? So I wanted to get back to this other thing, but I think we've moved way past that. I just to close the loop. I just think that there's a lot of things that we don't understand, and I think everybody needs to just take a step back. Especially a lot of these materialists who are like, no, this is how it is. Um, this old physics or whatever that we've been using, this is how it is with evolution and all these types of things. Not saying I don't agree or believe in evolution. I'm just saying that there's more than meets the eye, dude.
Yeah.
And if people would just humble themselves, you would get to that point of being able to explore more things, have the conversations, and sort of get out of this like duality of it's this versus that, instead of being like maybe it's a bit of both and there's like some middle path.
I agree with you. I mean,
But then again, in terms of what you just said about like the whole witchcraft thing, a lot of people would obviously disagree with that and be like, yeah, you've been messing with some stuff you shouldn't have been messing with.
well, I mean, the question is always there's more than one road that will take you to your end. For example, if I take just the fact that if I take just the truth that okay, my conscious mind is the barrier to the barrier to the attainment of whatever it is that I want. Whether it is a spiritual goal or whether it is a physical goal or goal in this physical reality, material wealth or the better job or whatever. And I accept that my subconscious mind, which is really a powerful engine, right? I mean, we can all agree your subconscious mind does calculations. Like when you're walking, it's calculating, it's doing something. When you're swimming, it regulates your breathing, your heartbeat. It regulates so much. Like your subconscious mind is really powerful. And it is certainly a better processor of information than your conscious mind in many aspects. That's why many people who say, I have this gut feeling, it's not necessarily a gut feeling. Actually, what's happening is your subconscious has picked up on several clues and cues that your conscious mind has not. You, the driver, have not, but your subconscious mind has already put things together. What you read in the news, what you heard this morning, what that guy's facial expression means, and the shifting body language of this person, and has put it together and has told you this is a good place, this is a bad place, or whatever it may be. You can separate that.
It's kind of
from the you can separate that from the witchcraft, or you should be able to. No, I mean, if you understand what I'm saying, like,
look, obviously I know what you're saying, but when you have like specific things like edging, I think that's where it becomes a little bit squirrely, right?
edging, is that
Where
something you
people
do
are
on the
like, oh,
toilet?
no, that's like when you
Okay.
blasting.
Yeah.
When you're adding that, it's kind of like Karetzi. You've heard about that, right?
No.
It comes from like Samael Anwar, that whole type of approach where
You abstain.
you no, you basically engage with a chick, but you don't finish.
Yes. Okay.
So you guys build yourself up to that level, and then you kind of absorb it into the mind, and it's
Mm.
supposed to be this like full experience of enlightenment. Um, so it's kind of that same practice. Uh, and obviously, what was that? What was it called? Something marriage.
Oh, yes, the perfect matrimony.
Perfect
Guys,
matrimony.
I would recommend. There's a lot of crackpot in there, but at the same time, there's a lot of gems in that book. I still
But to
believe
go
that to this
back to
day.
your question, I never answered it, but I did need time to kind of formulate. Was what's like some of the more kooky stuff that I've heard?
Uh-huh.
Um, I would say there's like there's these guys. I don't know what you would call them, but it's in regards to the whole like light worker thing. I'm gonna rip my hands off if I keep doing that. Um, you've heard of light workers, right?
No, angels?
Right.
Yeah?
No,
Light
so a
workers.
light worker is
Okay.
someone. It's like a certain consciousness that gets placed on Earth, and your job as a light worker is to shine a light on people. Whether like through whatever you do, you've been gifted with like this light, and it basically, you become a lighthouse for people to sort of come back home type of thing. Uh, so someone who would be considered like a light worker is when you are constantly doing your job, so to speak. So even when you go into a store and you make eye contact with people, you'll just give them a smile or a nod or a bit of a greeting, and that's all you're doing. You're just like radiating that light, so that after you leave there, people are like, I feel so much better.
Mm.
So that's like what a light worker is. Um,
So,
but then
so
you get
you don't
these
have
other
to know
guys
you're a
who
light worker necessarily, but it's just something that you do. It's in you.
basically at some point in your life you will find out, and it
Mm.
normally happens between like 35 and 45. Um, some people obviously earlier, but those are like outliers. You normally have to go through life, and you normally get hit with a lot of things, and it tends to be a life where the person just couldn't figure it out. They always seem to be slightly behind. Um, to then realizing later on, oh, there was a reason for that because I'm supposed to do this thing here. And then once they start on that path, they immediately thrive. To where people go like, oh my goodness, like how did you do this? How it makes no sense, you know. Um, but what I'm saying is like the more kooky thing is like these dudes who say they like unlock the ability in people, and you get the weirdest guys. Um, and he's like this one dude. He was doing an ad on YouTube for a while, and he was talking about how he's like, I don't know what he called it. Like these like weird spiritual white dudes with a beard and like the hair, and it's just like, okay, dude, and it's always like some frail guy, American dude, and he's like, I just walked through the path with a previous light worker, and I saw in his past life that his um incarnation took place on another planet. This
Okay.
planet had you know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, here we go. He's like, this planet had reached the heights of all humanity. and they lived in love.
And there were no
You know, and I was
Negroes.
like,
Obviously, there were no Negroes there.
dude, you know, there's no black people at those
Yeah, no
things, at
Jews,
those
no
gatherings.
Negroes. That's always some story like that. Okay.
And then he's like, and there was somebody else. His past life took place on a dismantled planet, and it had collapsed because of what we see in the world today. And I was like, oh my god, dude, these people have like the ad is 45 minutes on YouTube,
Jeez.
and I'm like, you know, when it just keeps playing,
Mm.
like, and that's the thing. I'm getting these ads. Like, I know for a fact you aren't getting them, or
No, I'm not.
anybody else in my household. You know, now that you
I'm
can
just
say
getting
is
car
because of the
ads and get
algorithm.
rich. Yeah.
Um, so that's the thing. It's kind of like I'm getting stuff that's more on like a spiritual level. You know, because I'm like a seeker, like Harry
Spiritual
Potter.
kooky. Okay. Well,
Okay,
as you
call it
wish.
whatever you want,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're there looking for how to get rich or something like that.
I really am not. Like, I just get
Oh
that
no,
a lot.
I'm saying based off of your ads.
Yeah.
I can say I'm getting those ads because it's obviously targeted to me. So they're like, this is what this guy is probably into.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Even though like I'm not, but I just like to be aware of all the different types of cults and things that people are gonna try in the world. You know, because I told you I've been out there in the mountains and I saw a lot of these communities that you wouldn't even think is there, dude. You drive on a dirt road into the middle of nowhere and you come around this massive hill, and then in this little like crevice there's a full on community there, and they've got vegetables and they're barefoot, and the lady who's known as like the mother, she drives around on a scrambler everywhere, and she's just got the biggest load of hair under her arms. um and like I even remember when she greeted us, like she greets you with a long kiss, like right on the lips. Just met her, you know.
Yeah.
And I think I even had a cold sore a few days later, so it was quite interesting. Um,
Uh,
just,
no
just
surprise.
flip, just flip to your camera quick. I want to open the door for like in 2
Okay.
seconds.
Yeah, open up the door there, man. Open up the door to another dimension. Welcome to the outer limits, 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 limits.
Okay, so
These chats.
that's what I'm saying, right? I've been out there. I've seen these people. They do exist. So when people like, I think it's so funny when people think that whatever their path is the only path. Like,
Of course, of
oh no,
course.
like you get a job and then you must get promoted and then you do this and then you get the house and like this and that, and it's like no, don't you know that what's out there? There's some people who don't even live in that
World.
um that reality at all.
Yeah.
And I even got invited to be there, dude. And there was some dude, and that's the thing that's crazy about it. It's the chicks, they are beautiful, bro. And you're like, whoa, what is going on here? Like, no one is wearing a bra. It's like, okay, I'm seeing nipples everywhere. Um,
Obviously, what's the point of having a cult if there aren't any beautiful girls?
See, so immediately that's the thing, right? Oh, that's a cult. Um, and
Or
I don't
commune.
know.
Commune, whatever.
Um, Here's the thing: it's a bunch of people who are off the grid. Okay, they all they welcome anybody to live there. You know, if you know someone who can vouch for you, you grow vegetables. Um, I don't know what else they do, but you should have seen these, like, I don't know, think of like an igloo, right? But it's made, it's industrial. It's like made with like plastic or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's properly insulated, and there's like a bunch of these, like all over, all set up, and it's all attached to some type of borehole that where there's running water. Um, and they live in these like igloo things. And I was like, this is like not what you think, right? You go into one of these igloos and it's like, you're like, wow, I could actually live out here
Oh, really? It's
in
nice.
the bundus. Yeah, you're like, if I got a comfortable bed, a place to lay my head at night, which is warm and protects me,
Mm.
and I'm growing vegetables, and I'm as using my strength as a man to do the big jobs here that the woman can't do. Like, there was something, dude. I was like, I was a split second away from never going back home. It was. I remember there was this like the slither, this reality right there that I looked at, and I was like, imagine I just do this, and I'm like never seen again, and I'm out here, and I'm a part of this thing, and
Jeez.
I find a wife here with one of these single women,
And
and I was
that's
like,
it.
it's plausible. You out, dude. And that is happening all over the place. But people in the
Of course.
city, even the guy who I know, who took me to the place, he's like, I want to say like 58 or something,
Mm.
and like his chick was, how old is their daughter? That's what I'm trying to put together, because I think the daughter was like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But I remember like years before that, right? I went to one of these mountain towns, and my friend just told me like, dude, get out of the city, come with me, we'll go away for like a few days, like you need it. Because like you saw I was like stressing out, going to the same bars, drinking, that whole lifestyle. And my friend was like, dude, do something different. He's like, I'm going, the invitation is there. And I remember on the day before, I was like, yo, dude, I'm going to go with you. And I had plans that weekend, and I was like, screw those plans. Maybe, we're talking about that like intuition, that little pulse of just a little nudge
Yeah.
saying, no, go do that. You need to go do that. And I go there, dude, and it was the best decision I ever made, being out there in the mountains, going to like, just like these
But I think you wanted
stalls.
to mention something about the age. You started talking about the age of
No,
the
no. So
man and
what
his
I'm saying is,
wife, and then
this is where I met those people. I was on that trip, so we go there and stay the night, and then the next morning, like we're chilling there having breakfast and stuff, and then there's a knock at the door, but the doors are all the doors are open, and like this guy and his like daughter walks in there and stuff. I'm like, hey, what's up? And I even remember thinking like, oh, this chick's quite pretty. And then he's like telling the dude's like place where I'm staying at. Oh, something about the caravans or something like that. The water is out. Could we have a shower here? And he's like, oh, no problem, no problem. And so like they go into the shower or to the bathroom together. I was like, okay, whatever. And then they come out and they greet and they leave. And so I was like, oh, I don't know how it got to that, but I was obviously trying to push towards who the chick is, you know, um, and like her dad and stuff. The dad seems chilled, like thinking like, oh, we're gonna hang out like out with them again.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, dude, she's like 17 or something. And I was like, oh, okay, no, never mind. And then he's like, that's not her dad. They're together. And I was like,
Yes. And this guy was
what?
had white hair, right? Gray hair.
Dude, this guy looked like Gandalf. Old man, dude.
No,
Dude, old man. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, they've been together. And I'm just like,
been together.
I'm like, what? And then like everything just hit me. I was like, oh, they showered together and all this stuff. And I was like, this is crazy, dude. Like, if this was like in a city somewhere, this wouldn't be allowed, right?
Yeah, it's still not allowed.
Um,
They're just doing whatever they want. Yeah.
but it like what I'm saying is when you go out into these like rural areas and stuff, and you kind of spoke about this last week when you said how that destitute guy that you picked up and gave work to, um, he was chatting to like those young girls, you know, um, and it's like, and I've seen this before, and it's kind of weird how it segued into this. But anyways, before I go on to that part, I then lived with those two people, with her and him, or him and her, and they had a daughter, right? And I remember because I wanted to
How many
talk
years
to
later
them
was
about
this?
it. This is probably like, oh right, because I can actually. This was like 6 years later,
Okay. So you impregnated
like
her at
after
17, 18.
around there, because I remember she was like early 20s, and yeah, it was like bombshell though. Like I'm telling you, I was like, this girl is very beautiful, dude. Like model features, long black hair, green eyes, and he's just, trekking along there. Just,
Yes.
he's a cool guy though, man. He's a really cool guy.
He could be dead
Very
by
young at
now.
heart,
Could be dead by now.
maybe. And I remember we smoked some J, and I was sitting at the table talking to them, and she brought it up. She was like, "Yeah, I mean, what do you think they say about us?" And I was like, "Yes, yes." Like I didn't have to ask any questions. It's like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And she
Mm.
was like, because now I can dig like further in. She's like, "Yeah, like, um." You know how my parents hated. He's older than them.
Yeah, that's when we start fighting, yo. We start rolling. No ways, bruh. No ways, bruh.
Um,
No
and
ways. No
I
ways.
was just like, this is, and I was like, so I didn't want to go too deep on that side. Like, when
Uh,
did you guys actually meet? Because he must have been like in his 50s when she was like 15, 16. You know, so I didn't want to go down there too much because
how did
you
he? How
know
did he get her? Just like Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh.
no, because this is how it works in those communities. It's very much like caravan people. It's like gypsy, these types of communities. And what happens is that you're just that guy. You always like you're busy. Maybe you're funny or whatever, and then you have a chick like her who, I mean, she even said it. I became fond of him and I wouldn't leave him alone. Like everywhere he would go, she would be like in his like perimeter. I don't know how it happens in these gypsy places and whatever, but you can leave it to the imagination. And yeah, dude, it was. She even says like, yeah, everywhere I go, they think it's like my granddad.
Yeah, it's
Because
it.
I was like, she had to go. Think about this. She had to go to a government building to sort out like some type of papers or something with a driver's license or something like that. And I was asking, I'm like, isn't it weird? Like you live in this world and then you have
Separated
to
from,
go
yeah.
from all of it, but then you have to go back and sit in the line like everybody else. And she's like, you don't understand how weird it is. Like people just look at you like, what happened to you?
Because
Because
she's there in like
you're
an.
you're burnt, right? Because you're always in the sun.
Mm,
Yesterday there's a storm and your caravan is flooded, and she even spoke about it. Yeah, it took them like 4 hours while the daughter was sleeping. They were just throwing water out of the caravan. That's how
okay.
much it was storming and storming and storming, and they loved it. Though, like the way they spoke about it was like it was so epic, like that kind of like experience. And I looked at it and I was like, I can't sit here on this end and say what you guys are doing is like wrong
Mm,
or right or anything like that.
mm.
I don't understand what's going on, but when I'm talking to the both of you and you got your daughter sitting next to you, it's like
You're happy.
you guys seem to have figured something out here, like that normal people won't be able to kind of even understand.
Mm,
Um, so to me, it's like those are the types of things that you see out there
yeah.
in these places that are clearly illegal and stuff in our society. But there's so much happening out there that nobody even knows about. That's why when people are like, "Oh, you've got to do this, and then you've got to get this in order," I'm like, "You have no idea what you're talking
Yeah,
about."
you're only talking about, but it's true, you can go into any bar, anywhere, and you're gonna find an old man with gray hair who's going to try and sun you and tell you about how all this technology, it's nonsense, it's all going to end soon. You need to get a job, work with your hands, that's what's right. And then you listen to me, boy, I'm talking to you. Go to the plumbing college, become a plumber, you get yourself, 100 bucks for all the easy jobs, like $100 for the easy jobs, and then after 20 years you'll have a house, and then you take that money and you never put it in the stock market, you put it in here, like they all have their. And I'm happy when it works for you, that's wonderful, but don't go publishing it like those are guidelines to success for every person. I do think there are certain things, strategies, let me say strategies, that are overarching, but I don't think. Just be wary of anyone who tries to give you step by step instructions based on their experience. Um, yeah, because it's not going to work. Even I can't give someone step by step instructions on how to um, get a crossover from financial analysis into data science. It worked for me specifically. Um, I can only give you stratagems, maybe, overarching ideas like set set a goal that you feel is attainable, work towards that, find something that you enjoy doing that's not work to you, but something that you would want to be doing anyway, even if you weren't doing it to pay rent. Just find something that you'd want to do anyway, because that way at least each day at work will feel less like work. It'll feel more like just your occupation, your purpose, or whatever. But yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot
look,
to
I think
unpack.
this advice thing is so, I don't know. Advice to me is something that I've really changed my opinion on as I've like gotten older.
Yeah.
Because there's always like that thing where people say, "Oh, if you could have dinner with whoever, who would it be?"
Mm,
Um, and I always think like, okay, so why are they talking to like this like specific
George
person?
Washington or
And it's
something.
because you or whoever, right? Someone, some pop star, someone, some philosopher, and then it's like, oh, because they're actually looking for some type of advice that this person's going to give them, and it's going to set them off on the right path. And I think that there's advice that is, and I can't even call it advice. There's like just someone pointing the way at certain places in your life where it clicks, and so you go that way. But if you're not ready to like kind of receive that, it's a Hebrew word, lekabal. Um, if you're not ready to receive, then you're just gonna be like, no, I'm not into that or whatever. So those types of things can be like misconstrued as, oh, if I talk to the right person, they'll point me in the right direction. Um, but it's like that whole thing about you're making your way through the fog. You have no idea where you're going. You're walking and you're walking and you're walking, and boom, you end up at a place that you wanted to be. And then you look backwards and you see the path you created. And then you try sell that as a course or something. Or you
yeah.
give people advice based off of that. But how can you if you were finding your way through it to begin with?
Mm, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's a
So
difference.
how can you say that this is gonna work for you as well? It's like you
But
didn't even know it was gonna work for you.
there is a guy who spoke about this. I'd love to give a shout out to him, but I can't remember his
What's
name. He
going
just
on with your throat, dude?
it's all this e-vape. Um, there's a
Uh,
there's a
I know
specific
it's that guy who spoke about like the diary of a CEO. That guy.
yes, and he's talking about how actually those self-help guides are making you less successful, possibly because
Yeah.
um he's saying there's two types of people that give advice. The one, successful CEO or serial entrepreneur. So, serial entrepreneur being the key word here, someone who has repeatedly started ventures, has seen some fail, and several have taken off, and that's why he's a multimillionaire or billionaire. And what he says is usually those type of people, the kind of advice they give you is the broad strokes, like I was just saying. Do something that you're passionate about. For example, be perceptive, and keep your eyes open. Don't be too judgmental about the
All
opportunity.
the most generic stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, the reason it's generic is because your individual situation will be different, right? So there are people, for example, who hit it big with Bitcoin. Now we have millions of people who are still, I'm still going to become a millionaire of Bitcoin. Like, you can't follow that initial adapter, that early adopter strategy, because that was for them, right? Um, Bill Gates, his strategy for success, it was at a time when software was pricey and was difficult to obtain, and they were making money just writing programs for like search, you know, and things, simple things like that. You can't just follow that pattern, because if you try that, it's not going to work for you in your time, in your situation, in your country, maybe. So be weary of anyone who's preaching success and tells you it's easy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that person clearly doesn't know as much as they think. And this is the beauty of it. People who don't know a lot think they always know a lot and always have strong opinions about things. Whereas people who are true experts will never, they'll shy away from words like, that's definitely it, or this is how you do it. And that's why it can sometimes sound generic, their advice. It's because they know that, like, I mean, if you ask me about a specific situation, I can probably give you more specific details. Like, you come to me and like, hey, I was thinking I was going to sell apple pies. It's going to be a big hit. And I can go and I can say, that's a dumb idea. There's so many apple pies. But then you do it, and your bakery and the way that you make your apple pies and sell them, somehow it's a multi-million dollar success. I mean, we see it all the time. What was it a few months ago? Labubus, these little gremlin creature things that people were
Yeah,
hanging
you
on their
spoke about
keychains.
it, but is
Billion
it still a
dollars.
thing?
I don't know, but that's what I'm saying. There's definitely someone out there right now who's made $1 million reselling Labubus at the peak of the Labubu craze. Guess what? You and I, we can't replicate that right now unless we find the
But it's the
next
same
big
thing like
trend.
this, right? It's like YouTube in 2012, right? That
Mm,
boom, and those dudes who are now like
mhm,
multimillionaires. It's the same like Amazon affiliate marketing in
mm,
2015. There's all these like spaces where things open up naturally. But I think the point is if you just like stay in your lane, whatever you're doing, uh, these like very wealthy guys, these billionaires, will say, just do what you're passionate about.
mm.
And obviously, people get frustrated because they're like, no, tell me what to do. And
Yeah.
you can just see the look in their eyes where they're like, no, that's not how it works. It will just happen for you if it's what you truly want. And you might not even like when it happens, right? You
Mm,
could be a 63-year-old and you've become a billionaire. And you could have struggled all your life trying to reach this thing and nothing ever worked out. And then at 60 years old, a friend asked you for advice and said, hey, let's just do this thing. And you said, okay, cool.
and he
I'll
just
do it.
struck it while it's hot. He struck the iron
And
while it's
then
hot.
all of a sudden, you're just like this 63-year-old, you're
Yeah.
barefoot on your farm there and you're
I
just full of smiles.
mm. I think that's
And
the
you're not
most.
looking for the car. You're not looking for anything like that. You're just like, you don't even spend the money you would the same.
Yeah,
And you might even say, I could have never had this at that age when I was in my
mm,
30s or my 40s.
out of
It just
blown it
wouldn't have
all.
been the same. I would just wasn't ready for something like
Yeah.
that.
Dude, it's the story of
So,
like Ray Kroc, the founder of, not founder, the guy who basically bought McDonald's and turned it into what
oh,
it is
that,
today.
I mean, the
Yeah, that's an
movie's like the founder,
yeah,
right?
exactly. It's a
With
great
what's his
story.
name?
Ray Kroc. Ray Kroc.
No, the actor. What's his name?
Oh, Michael Keaton. Not Michael Keaton, sorry.
Is it Michael
Michael,
Keaton?
it's the guy who's played Batman. What's his name again? Yeah, Michael Keaton. Same guy, Batman. It is. I'm not asking.
It is.
It is
I'm just thinking
1980s
about
Batman.
him in Step Brothers, where he keeps singing like the TLC songs.
Oh
I don't
yes,
want those.
exactly. Was that? No, that
That's
wasn't.
him.
That was. That
Yeah.
wasn't. That wasn't Step Brothers. That was in the other guys.
Other guys.
Yes,
Yeah,
where he's
yeah,
the
yeah.
police captain. And he's
Oh,
like, "Don't go
Step
chasing
Brothers
waterfalls."
is with John C. Riley and Will Ferrell,
Yes,
and other
exactly.
guys is
Will Ferrell
Mark
and
Wahlberg and Will
exactly.
Ferrell. It's
So
like
yeah, that's my
it's
hot
a
take on
soup
it.
kitchen.
That's my hot take on it is uh you got to find your own
But
rhythm.
what I'm saying is, you don't know in this life, bro. Like, there's also a part of me
How dare we?
That
We're in school and we're trying to teach school. It's not. We're all in school. Everyone who's on this planet is still in school. Like
but what
everyone
I
who's
mean is
breathing is
like,
still
is
in
there
school.
not something in like that makes you sometimes think that you are only the observer and
Yeah.
that you just watching a movie of this life, of this character that you're playing, Israel Zulu, right?
Thank you for
Um,
putting my name out there for everyone. That's awesome.
what are you talking about?
I'm Goy Boy 1 and you're Goy Boy 2. That's all.
I literally put two random words together and you're like, that's my name.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Never.
Anyways, and you're playing this character, and because here's something interesting to think about. There's been many things that you've done that you didn't want to do.
Yes.
Why did you do those things?
What do you mean?
Like, why, if you didn't want to do
I
something
did things
and
out of
you did it anyways?
I did things because I thought that it would get me what I wanted. I did things because I gave up my own judgment to accept someone else's judgment as true, because I played into the crowd, because basically it boils down to most of my bad decisions are when I'm not being honest with myself. That's when they happen. That's when I regret it. You know what I mean? There are certain things that happen, you decide, but one thing I can take is that it certainly takes the stinger out of regret when at least you can say, I chose it, it was wrong, my bad. But when you chose to do something and you realize that it was never even what you wanted to do, oh, the regret is.
But what I'm saying is, if we're going on my theory of it's like a first person movie that we're watching. And so we've tried to go in all many different directions, you know. Oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. And then you end up doing this and you end up being here, not there. And at a point, you sit back and you go, how much has been in my control to begin with, right? We just have to look at your race, the place you were born, the family, all that kinds of stuff. That is completely out of your control.
Mm,
Even when you're a kid growing up. And then at some point, we're like, oh no, I'm actually in control.
mm,
But then your life after that doesn't show that, you know? So, how much of it is us like watching a movie and then from the audience saying, like, yeah, you better go talk to that girl when he gets to the bar or whatever, you know?
mm.
And like you're talking to the character on the screen, like almost
Yeah.
like what you're gonna say is gonna change what's happening on the screen. And then the character gets to the bar and he sees that she's talking to someone else and he goes and sits in the corner or he leaves there. And you're like, there's do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
What if it's something like that? Then there would be so much like less stress, dude. Now, I'm not saying it's not to have like accountability. That's not what I'm saying. But I do feel like there's an aspect of, okay, here's one that you like to bring up a lot of the times as well, um, where it's like, oh, well, then people are just going to sit around and do nothing.
Mm,
They're not going to like give anything to society or whatever. And then I always say, like, go ahead and try. Do you know how hard it would be every single day to just go to like a couch and sit there the whole day, every day?
For you and
No
I, for
person,
you and me, yeah, but not for
unless
some.
you're a monk. Dude, even the person who we think is not doing anything is still being very active.
Yeah.
Whether that's being on their phone or whatever it is, you're doing some activity. So it's all about like the direction. But if I have to tell you now, from tomorrow onwards, you're just gonna sit on the couch. That's never gonna happen. There's something that's flowing no matter what. Like even if you decide I'm giving up everything, that doesn't matter. You're still gonna find yourself at work. You're still gonna find yourself doing this, that, or the other. You're still gonna find yourself like doing a podcast or something.
But you're saying this feeling of I have to direct.
There's like some type of control that you
This is
have.
this is a deep conversation, and I have to meditate upon that. And it's not, to be frank, it's not the thing to start at. It's too deep a topic for us now. We have to postpone this for next week. It's too deep
Yeah,
because
yeah.
this
I'm
is
just
a whole new chat on its own. And I actually want to make the point of noting it down somewhere.
do it, dude, because it's like actually that'll be a good thing, right? Reflect on it for like a week,
I need to. So the question
and
basically
then be
is
like, I.
the role of the observer.
What if you're just an observer watching this life unfold as if it was a movie? And just like a movie, you wouldn't try and change what's going on the picture. Yes, you would feel different emotions and stuff, but ultimately you know that it's running its course and you're just going to sit and enjoy it. And when it says go here, you go there. When it says do that, you do this.
That's the part that I wanted to bring in. Yeah, yeah, okay. That's a very interesting topic. I'm going to meditate upon that, and we're going to talk about that. As hopefully, if we don't get sidetracked like we always do, just like it's funny. I might spend 7 days meditating on this, and then like we talk about it for 60 seconds, and then suddenly it's back to squirrel porn or something absurd.
I don't know what other podcasts you're doing, but
Let's be
where
honest.
you guys are talking about that.
Okay. Anyway, brother.
Anyways,
Bro, we've reached that
we're gonna
point.
we're gonna wrap it there.
Yeah, you can obviously hear by my tone. I'm like, it's that point. Man's got to
Yeah,
go
look,
and
I did get a boost, especially when I started going into like those hippie people and stuff.
Mm.
Because a lot of people don't know that that actually exists, and I've got more
Eh,
stories because there's a couple of these, whatever you want to call them,
communes.
communes, or
Yeah, but it's you. I
where
like that you
I
brought that
was
up.
I can't believe that this exists. I
Yeah,
like
you're right, dude. I mean, if you look at, just sorry, I know I said we're gonna close it, but just to highlight what you're saying, you don't even have to go so stream with that example. Even if you say to someone who's born and raised in an inner city, a big city, Berlin, New York, and you take them just to the suburbs, it's like, what is this life? They
yeah,
in their minds they're like, what are people doing here? I mean, I'll never forget. Remember, I'm from Berlin, and then we moved into the suburb. And I was like, gee whiz, bro, like what's going on here? Like, from the bustle of people, and to me, everyone felt like sleepy, might as well be desert kids. I don't know. Like,
yeah. Like, oh,
the,
there's nothing to do here.
there's
So
nothing to
quiet.
do. There's this innocence. And I'm just like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, in Berlin, we don't do it like this. Like, That, that wouldn't be entertaining. That wouldn't be a game. That wouldn't be funny. Like, but yeah, so that's a truth. People, but that's a flaw human beings have. We like to think that life is the way that we understand it, and that's why we always try to perceive historical events through the modern eye. And that's why when you try to tell people, when scientists or historians try to tell people, look, actually, certain cultures, civilizations, they were more diverse than you think, then it's like, oh, you're trying to do DEI. But no, people have been traveling for thousands of years. Like, since people had legs, they've been moving. There's always been like a new bunch of folks like popping up somewhere in Sweden, and then they're like, "Oh, who are you?" Or in Ireland or in Africa. Like, there's it's always movement. Black going there, white going here, and people weren't necessarily so attached to the idea of color. What they were more attached to is what's your clan, right? So
Yeah,
the
who are your
Greeks,
people?
yeah, like the Greeks and the Romans, they would have looked at, I mean, they might have had some rivalry with the Egyptians or with the Nubians, but they might have looked at someone from Sudan and said, this is a civilized human being. He is my equal. And then looked at another person, also black, but knowing that, oh, this person is from this tribe or this clan, those are barbarians. So they don't put you on the same level just because of skin color, but they're really looking specifically at your clan, right?
Dude, that thing is very, I wouldn't say recent, but it's not
It is
like the whole thing
recent.
of race.
No, it's recent.
It's not
Listen,
like people think that it's like this thing that's been
no.
forever,
The
but it's
Romans,
not.
dude, when Julius Caesar took that legion to cross the Rubicon River into Gaul, the Roman Senate was like, what are you doing? Bring the soldiers back, right? Why? Because in their minds, Gaul is a wasteland. It's for savages. It's just a lot of forest. There's no trade, there's no civilization. Like, what do we want there? Like, you're going there to play soldier, Julius, come back. And fortunately for him, he was able to turn that into conquest, but more importantly, he was able to bring back slaves, which does have some commercial value, and silver, which has commercial value. But it shows you that for the Romans, the world, quote unquote, was in the east and in the south. So it's like Africa and
Yeah.
Asia. That's the world of substance. That's where you're going to find people who are writing and reading. They know about maths. They know about. This is civilization. That's what we want to conquer, not the backwaters of Europe. And just that's what I would say to someone who tries to color history. Just remember that Europeans looked at other Europeans and said, this is a savage. And they looked at a dark skinned person and said, this is a civilized man. And it had nothing to do with skin color. But anyway, that's just our thing. We can close it off with a 2 minute before I get all emotional
Yeah.
in this racial
It starts
debate.
screaming again. I mean, it wouldn't be a cost if you didn't bring it to that somehow.
Right? You always want to trigger me, man.
Um,
You always want to trigger me.
it's just hilarious. Okay, yeah. Well, thanks for watching, I guess.
Thanks for
Anyways,
watching, guys.
I'm gonna say thank you. We're gonna do just a 2 minutes, let the dust settle, uh, and yeah, a moment of silence, and then I'll end it by saying thank you again, and then we'll just leave in silence. Thank you. Thank you.